3 rounds left in the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series for 2021 for Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine. We stay in Tennessee, but this time we go to the Nashville Super Speedway, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, on the back of short track racing last week at Bristol, it is the Music City 400, the third last round of the season, the second leg of the Triple Crown. Of course, we're just 2 weeks away from the Simshed Broadcasting 500 at the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. We've got plenty of mileage to get through before then. It's Saturday Night Motorsport on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting, and it's nice to have your company. Hello, everyone. Zach Caban with you alongside JP. Mark Johansson will be here very shortly as well. Welcome to Saturday Night Motorsport, the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series. The third last round, the Music City 400, and that is kilometres, not miles. I think 400 kilometres is enough of a stretch on a Saturday night for these guys. Of course, last week, short, sharp, in and out in about 75 minutes. Tonight will go a little bit longer, but it'll be well worth the price of admission, because when you get to Nashville Super Speedway, it's not exactly a super speedway, but it certainly offers a lot more in terms of the horsepower than what last week did. JP, good evening to you. Of course, in our new time slot of 7:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, for those of you playing along at home wondering, why is it starting earlier? Don't blame me. It is Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series, the third last round. Darren Mckenzie, still the man to beat. Could mathematically put one hand on the title tonight. We'll wait and see on that, because obviously 2 of the last 3 rounds are double points affairs. But it's just a matter of showing up and finishing for him at this point in time. A DNF would be costly. Oh, hold it together. Some sliding action here on the circuit at the moment as we continue practice. Mackenzie's championship to lose, there's no doubt about that. But what we saw last week, the likes of Ed Foster are also well worth watching in a non-championship capacity. And it's always interesting when you get to this point of the season, because you've got guys that can throw caution to the wind because they've got nothing to lose. And then you've got a few guys at the pointy end of town who have to be mindful of that all-important championship race.
Yeah, good evening, Zach. This is going to be a really exciting wind-up to the season. So everything's on the line now. Like you said, Darren Mckenzie could put one hand on the trophy tonight, but he's not there yet. So we'll see what's going to transpire.
Indeed we will. Let's have a look at the championship points if we can, and have a reminder of where we sit at this point in time. And of course, when Mark Johansson joins us, we'll have a look in more detail at Nashville Super Speedway. So we've got 2 championships to run through tonight. Of course, we've got the Triple Crown and also the Outright Championship. And there's the Outright Championship. Darren Mckenzie, 984 points. Paul Jackson on 820. Dylan Davies on 789. Scott McClintock, 694. And Josh Carroll Walden on 676. Stephen Williams, 638. Adam Ariel, 616. Ruben Phelps on 601. Barry Neal, 587. And Mark Johansson, 567. Snuck into the top 10 last week. Christian Koch just outside. Jamie Nankervis, Dave Duran, Mark Smith, Aidan Schultz, despite not doing the full season, has got himself inside the top 15. Greg Spencer, Nigel Patton, Hamish Gallagher, and then Paul Drady and Dave Douglas make up the top 20. It is Dave Douglas currently sitting on top of the timesheets here. Aidan Schultz, Ruben Phelps, and Ed Foster just behind them, as Mark Johansson joins us for the first time this evening. Mate, good evening to you. Third last round, Music City 400. I mean, the Music City Grand Prix was a good enough title for IndyCar, so it works well for us as well. Interesting point of the championship, because you've got a few guys that can throw caution to the wind because they've got nothing to lose, and then you've got Darren Mckenzie, who just needs to make sure that he takes that checkered flag.
Yeah, most definitely, mate, and good evening to everyone. Darren's basically got the championships thrown up. All he's got to do is start and get halfway, and then play it safe and pull out, and if he wanted to, but that's not Darren's way.
No.
So, the real battles for second, third, and fourth, I think.
Yeah, indeed it is. We just saw it on the screen there a few moments ago. Of course, this is leg 2 of the Triple Crown as well, so we should have a look at the points as they stand in the Triple Crown. after round one. Now, I missed round one, of course, but Paul Jackson got the full box and dice of points there, 80 to Dave Douglas, 70, and Josh Carroll Walden, 68, 2 clear of Nigel Patton, and 2 then back to Aidan Schultz. Again, another 2 back to Raymond Jagger, Darren Mckenzie, Daniel Aguilera Bates, Stephen Williams, and Reese May, the top 10. Not all the guys that we saw in round one of the Triple Crown will back up for round 2 here, but I would expect quite a few of the ring-ins, as we like to call them here on Saturday Night Motorsport. Mark will be back in full force in 2 weeks' time when we get to the Sim Shed Broadcasting 500.
Oh, I definitely think so, mate. That's our biggest race. We've moved the Daytona 500 to the end of the season to make it a grand final type race. So I would expect that we'll have a full field for that one.
Absolutely. Now, just so that we're clear, obviously, a lot of our races we deal in kilometre distance. When we get to the 500, is it 500 Ks or 500 miles?
No, this year it's definitely 500 Ks. Next year we've gone to a full 500-mile race, so 800 plus Ks for next year.
Excuse me. I'm looking forward to next year, of course. We have had a gander at the calendar for next year already in an off-air capacity. I'm sure you'll shed some light on that in an on-air capacity in the coming weeks, mate, and looking forward to that, of course. It'll all start up in February once more. The Nashville Super Speedway. Let's have a look at some track info for you here as we get ready for the end of practice and the start of qualifying, because this is where we're going tonight. It's a 2.14 kilometre circuit, which equates to 1 1/3 miles, as opposed to the usual standard 1.5 for these type of speedways. But the Nashville Super Speedway is not a super speedway. It's somewhere between short track and regular distance oval. Think Texas, Charlotte, etc., and so forth. 187 laps tonight, so that's less than last week, but of course the track longer, and therefore the race distance longer, 400.2 kilometres. Whoever did the maths tonight did the math very, very nicely, I might add. 72 kilometres an hour along pit lane. The fuel restriction, as per usual, 70.7 litres. The fuel burn, 1.111, 1.1 repeater per lap, and that should allow for 3 to 4 pit stops tonight, 4 sets of tyres, of course. So the standard procedure there with regards to fuel restriction and tyre limit. The fuel burn varies track to track, and as do the pit stops, boys. And JP, what was interesting last week is it was a race purely on tyres in terms of the pit stops, because technically you only had to stop once on fuel and you were right to get home. Tonight, different story.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like they're going to need all of those stops tonight, especially with the way that these guys are dancing around the track at the moment. Now, while we've got Mark Johansson with us, we just had a question here from Jamie Budd online. How does he join the league, Mark? Can you shed any light into that, please, mate?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Just go to the iRacing website and look us up. Jump into there, send a request, and we'll see the request to join the league, and then from there we'll aim him towards the Discord channel and the Facebook page, and yeah, he's more than welcome to come along and run with us.
How appropriate too, boys, that when you look at the fuel burn for tonight, we're talking about a 1.3 mile circuit, 1.33 repeater, and it's 63.6363636364 that I get on my calculator when I take 70.7 and divide it by 1.111. I was always going to throw up a nice number, wasn't it? So we're looking at 63 laps for fuel, which works perfectly because you can do that on 2 stops. It'll be tyres, it'll be cautions that'll dictate how many stops these guys make tonight. And JP's already mentioned as well that they're a little bit taily tonight, Mark Johansson, so the potential for an early caution is very much there.
Oh, it definitely is, mate. It's very slick out here at the moment. The temperatures are, as you said, I think you said it, about 20 degrees temp on the track, so it's not a very warm track, and with it being cement, it's always a little bit more slipperier, so it could be interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't actually mentioned it yet, but you saw it on the screen long enough that we don't need to rerun through it in terms of visually, but I will run through it verbally for those that are only half paying attention to the screen. 9th of October 2021 is server time, and 18:35 local time server time. So that's just on sunset there in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, we race into the night again. 19 is the air temp, 20 on track, 11 kilometre an hour. Southeasterly winds for you as well. We're taking an onboard shot here. Probably an opportune moment for us to crank up the volume for the first time tonight. We're with Mark Johansson. We're going to watch him at work here in this practice session as we get ready for qualifying. And case in point, the slip and slidey nature of this circuit is going to catch a few people out tonight. Now we're out of practice, so we're going to go qualifying immediately. So we'll get this opportunity now to hop on board with a couple of hot shots at the front of the field. See if we can't get a lap in here with Aidan Schultz or Ed Foster when they jump onto the circuit, JP, and we'll go for a lap with them around the Nashville Super Speedway, because as good as the circuit looks, as fast as the circuit looks, these guys are only just scraping under 30 seconds for a 1.33 mile lap. So there will be some throttle work and modulation in action tonight. Let's go for a roll with you. Schultze parks it after clocking one fast lap. Very nicely done from him. 29.4 also for Ed Foster. So it's not the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths of a second separating Foster and Schultze at the moment. You can see there, not much in it on Saturday night. Ruben Phelps and Ryan Barber. That's a new name to me, Ryan Barber. Christian Koch, Nigel Patton, Mark Johansson, Stephen Williams, Jamie Nankervis, and Michael Shaw. A lot of these guys back after the field here get to clock a fast lap. So here's a 2-lap mad dash in qualifying here. We only have 5 minutes worth of qualifying, so it's done. These guys will be lining up on the grid, getting ready to race. Wait to take us through 187 laps here on the Nashville Super Speedway.
Just a heads up there, extremely tricky to get into.
And of course, we mentioned earlier, pit lane speed limit 72 kilometres an hour. So I mean, it's not just the tricky nature of trying to apply the braking. You know that these things don't pull up without a fight, and then also trying to delicately manoeuvre your way through that tricky pit lane entry that you mentioned here.
Most definitely.
Dave Douglas to the top. He took Mark Smith with him. 29.34. Edward Foster, Darren Mckenzie also 29.34. Are you kidding me? This is a grid separated by thousandths of a second. Douglas, Mckenzie, Foster, and Douglas, Smith, Foster, Mckenzie. You're not reading things there, folks. 29.33, 29.34, 29.34, 29.34. Get out of here. That's insane. 29.40 for Schultz. 29.52 for Phelps and Barber. 29.64 for Davies. 29.66 for Koch. It has all the ingredients for a close fight. We know that it won't end up that way. We half expect these guys to spread out like wildfire. at some point and go through a processional phase. But we're mindful of the slippery nature of it. So if these guys so much as put a wheel in the wall or a panel in the wall and stop on track for any great period of time while trying to regather, it will trigger cautions. JP, I can't believe the closeness of the grid. It's the closest of the season. We've seen a particular super speedway that is not a super speedway. It's the closest we've seen on a short track. Super speedways, you always expect closeness, but this is something else. We are looking forward to it.
I don't know if you guys remember, Dave Douglas said last week he's coming for this trophy. He wants this Triple Crown tonight.
Absolutely, he does. And you can see why too. I mean, that time 29.33, that was just scintillating. Well, let's have a look at the qualifying results at this point in time. Mark, you were going to say something before we did?
I'll jump back down in my race channel, mate, and pull me up anytime you want to have a chat.
Good on you, mate. Thank you for that. All the very best. Enjoy the race. Go well tonight. We will chat to you throughout, I'm sure. There are the times. 3 thousandths of a second from Douglas to Smith, and Smith back to Foster, and then only 4 thousandths back to Mckenzie. Wow. Extraordinary. And the top 7 separated by 0.2 of a second. It's better than Formula V. I never thought I'd say that. So Douglas and Smith will share the front row. Foster and Mckenzie the second row. Schultz and Barber the third row. Phelps and Davies the fourth. And Kosh and McClintock the fifth. That is awesome. Sixth row, as we wind over, will be Skurlock and Patton. Seventh row, Johansson and Williams. Eighth row, Campbell and Jackson. Ninth row, Nankervis and Shaw. Patton and Drady have not posted a time. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Half a second, just a little bit over, separates first and 14th, and then the rest of them very, very distant. But you don't have to be fast to win these races, because we've seen before that strategy, tyre wear are just 2 factors that come into it here, and we'll see them in action a little bit later on. There's the field from the aerial shot. 4, 6, 8, 10 rows worth of cars, 20 of them, provided that we have Mark Smith and also Matt Patton join us here. And I've just been reliably informed that I've been having half a conversation to myself here, courtesy of our good friend Sean McNamara. So hopefully we'll have JP back with us in just a moment. We did say good evening to him and all that sort of stuff. Mark Johansson and I were able to hear him. You weren't. Apologies for that, folks. We'll get that sorted, and we'll have the great man in here for the duration of the evening.
Hopefully very this is working now.
I hope so, mate. I can hear you loud and clear. Good to have you on board. Hopefully, this is one of the races that it's too close to call based on qualifying. I'm not even going to worry asking you guys about a tip for tonight, because it's just one of those ones that could go anyway, which way. There are 6 genuine contenders there at the front of the field, maybe 7. The iRacing course car will bring us around onto the main straight, and we'll get this thing on the road. Dave Douglas, Darren Mckenzie, Edward Foster, Ryan Barber, Aidan Schultz. Now, Matt Patton and Mark Smith have not taken the grid. I'm not sure what's happened to Mark Smith. He set a scintillating time, but he has not taken the grid. Can you believe that? Patton and Smith sitting in pit lane as the rest of the 18 now car field bring us to the green flag here. Round 33, Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, the Music City 400. Let's go. And already Dave Douglas asserts himself at the head of the field. Mckenzie and Foster and Schultz a good start. And Phelps has moved up too. So a position gain for both Mckenzie and Phelps, by virtue of the fact that there was a car absent from the grid. You can count it, but we try not to count it as a position gained in this instance. But unfortunately, iRacing won't allow you to move up one on the grid accordingly. That would have caused all sorts of confusion. It's 187 laps or 4 hours and 25 minutes, whichever comes first. I think it's safe to say it'll be 187 laps, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about that. Down the back straight we go for the second time. Douglas, Mckenzie, Schultz and Foster. Have a look at them side by side arguing over the same piece of real estate in the early stages. Onto the main straight. 1.33 miles, 2.14 kilometres. 2 laps in the book. And only a minute gone. And that's the thing too. If we end up running green the whole way, we're over and out in just on 90 minutes, folks. So that's the sort of time frame you're working with. Throw in a couple of pit stops, and maybe you'll get a little bit of change out of 100 minutes here. But we know that these races aren't that simple, JP. We do expect a caution at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are going hell for leather tonight, and we've seen Darren Mckenzie just break away, and now Aidan Schultz is having a look at Dave Douglas. So, yeah, expect a pace car at some point tonight.
And that was a good move from Schultz as well to put Douglas behind him. Now, Douglas, who has already said he wants that Triple Crown, he wants that silverware. He's on the back foot in the early stages and a little bit taily coming out of 2. But, as we've said before, the first 3 stints here are about settling into a rhythm, settling yourself into a groove, going through the motions. It does get a little bit processional, mundane in the midway part of the race. We know that. It's token NASCAR for you. However, be here for the last stint, because as you saw last week, as you saw, when we went to Charlotte and we've gone to other venues, yeah, there's usually fireworks at the back end here. Don't forget, this is only one of 3 nights of broadcast that we bring you on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting each and every week. The Goodyear Auto Carolina Super Series returns Tuesday night, and of course the Super 2E Series returns Wednesday night, 8:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. I'm looking forward to that immensely. We're off to the Hungaro Ring this week for the first time in SimShed Broadcasting RSRA Super Series history. Lap 7. Onto the main straight they go. Mckenzie, the leader. And this, if he can keep this up for another 180 laps, I know that's putting the mocker on him early without intentionally doing so. People will call it the commentator's curse no matter what happens to him.
Have a look at that.
That is commitment plus, isn't it? I was going to say it's one hand on the title for Mckenzie if he can stay where he is right now at the end of 187 laps. That is brilliant from Foster and Douglas. Phelps as well. Now, Schultz has fallen back a little bit behind Mckenzie there. It's only 0.4 of a second, but it was 0.2. So Mckenzie's just broken cleared by the tune of 2/10. It's not enough to get concerned about, not enough to be worried about, but it is breathing space, and you need every inch of that you can get around here, because by gee, this field is tightly bunched at the moment. That was brilliant car control, JP, that we just saw while we were on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually about to throw it out there and say, I wonder if Foster and Douglas have gotten together during the week and said, hey, look, let's work together here and see if we can bring ourselves towards the top of the timetables.
I'm all for it if they can. It'll be a good show, good spectacle. Now, speaking of spectacles, you need more than one television tonight. You need us on one screen. You need the Women's International 2020 cricket on the other, ladies and gentlemen. Must-win game for both teams in the context of the mixed format series. It's the second of 3 T20s. It's the second last game of the tournament. And India are 3 for 34 in the 8th over and in some serious strife. Australia win tonight, curtains, game over as far as the series is concerned. India win tonight, the series goes to a decider tomorrow, and it'll all hinge on that. But at the moment, the Aussies got the upper hand. 11 laps gone here as we return our attention and focus to the Music City 400. We'll check in with Mark Johansson throughout the course of the evening. Anyone else that wants to come and have a chat to us as well. But Mckenzie, the leader from Schultz. And Schultz just maintaining that gap. Back to Foster, Douglas and Phelps, then Skurlock as well. Davies, Barber, Williams, Kosh, the top 10 at this point in time. Kosh trying to get back into the top 10 in the championship fight after Johansson took that away from him last week. Good close battle here. How good's this? Ruben Phelps down the inside. Job done. Phelps to fourth.
Real
beauty.
Some real smart racing by both Phelps and Douglas there. Douglas knew it's early days. He doesn't need to go and fight. Just let Phelps go.
What's going to be interesting again here, JP, we say it all the time, tyre wear. How, I mean, given the cool track conditions, but taking into consideration the slip-sliding nature of a lot of these cars, how is that going to affect the tyre wear and the tyre life? Will they be able to get 60-odd laps? Well, we said earlier 187. The fuel tank is, 63 laps. So you only need to get 62, 63 out of a tank to get home on 2 stops. Can you do it on 2 stops with tyres as well? That's the unknown.
Yeah, that's going to be that's really going to be the unknown quantity. And as the sun's going down, the track's going to start to cool off. But yeah, being the type of track that it is, you can see that they were slipping and sliding around. The cars are just braking slightly in the rear end there, so the guys have got to just back off slightly to catch that slide.
Already one car limping around the outside. Now we've got some serious trouble here in the early stages. Paul Drady has not started the race. He's still in pit lane. Brett Campbell is in pit lane and 9 laps down. He's been in pit lane for 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Matt Patton did join the race, but is a lap and almost a half down in 18th. And Michael Shaw is also a lap down. He would have been one of those cars out there on the high side as these faster cars were coming through a short while ago. Let's take this opportunity while we can, JP, to crank up the volume and go for a ride at the front end of town with the championship leader, who is leading by example in the early stages of the Music City 400. Nice work there from the trackside cameras, which come to us, of course, each and every week, thanks to Track Cams for Gourmet on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, showing you the static shots of each corner around the Nashville Super Speedway to complement the sounds of the game, as we like to call it. The stock cars hard at work on a Saturday night. Now, there's been a wicket at Metricon Stadium as well. It is 4 for 50. India in all sorts of strife as well. So we'll keep you updated on that as the night goes on. But I would say that the Aussies will have an easier task than they might have otherwise anticipated tonight in trying to wrap up the series. Darren Mckenzie leads on lap 22. Make it lap 23 now as he crosses the line. And there's a car ahead that's a lap down. He'll use that for a tow for the moment, and not much else, I would think, JP.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to be focused on finishing the race. So, yeah, game on.
Indeed it is. And we have got through 23 laps without a caution. So that's a superb start to the race. And that's again, another nature of the beast. If we go too far without a caution, these guys will still stare down the barrel of green flag pit stops. Most likely for fuel and tyres as well. And that's the interesting thing too, JP, with the fact that we've got 3 to 4 stops scheduled, and you start on one set, there's 3 spares waiting for you in the lane. You've got to be selective about when you come in to take them and take the gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about being able to mitigate that and knowing when to come in and grab those tyres. Maybe even take that gamble and keep a set of tyres in your pocket just in case you get that late race caution.
Yes, that is the case. Three drivers are a lap down or more. Unfortunately, Brett Campbell has been caught up in an early incident. He's 11 laps down. Paul Drady has finally joined the race. He's only completed 4.5 laps. 20 laps down, unfortunately. So that puts pay to a result of any sort tonight. But remembering that if you can get through 94 laps, you'll be classified tonight. 94 and 94 is 188. We're going 187 laps tonight. 50% race distance is all that's required for maximum points, or for classification points at least, in this race. It's not like we have a half-point system, unfortunately. iRacing hasn't been that kind to us in terms of options that we can insert with our racing here. It'd be nice to be able to go through the rigmarole, the roller coaster of emotions that is a normal NASCAR day at the office, whereby when you turn up, you don't know how long you're going to be there for, because if it rains, they don't worry about time certainty. They just go on and on and on. And hello to the team at Supercars on that note, shall I say, at this point in time. 4:17, 4 hours, 17 minutes left on the clock. That won't be a threat to us tonight. We're on lap 28, and Darren Mckenzie leads the way from Aidan Schultz. The margin 0.8 per second.
Have a look at this between Foster and... Well, Foster's actually trying to get around Mark there.
So Foster third in the pecking order. Schultz is second. Mckenzie is first. Funny, I thought I heard Aidan Schultz say that not to expect too much from him this week when we spoke to him last week. He's going all right.
He's doing really well at the minute. Early days, but look, he's where he wants to be. And he can try and control the race from there.
Absolutely, he can. The man he's got to stop is Darren Mckenzie. That's the problem.
Darren seems to be, at this stage, he seems to be in a class of his own. He's been able to clear out a bit. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens moving forward.
Indeed. Mark Johansson, as per usual, has sent us some race info about the circuit and some race facts and stats that we'll run through a little bit later for you as soon as we get to a quiet window. You have 16 cars. Make it 15 cars on the lead lap at the moment. $32 of 187, so just on 16 minutes of racing already in the book for you, folks.
Oh,
Oh, jeez, that was the... oh, no. That was 15th, wasn't it? Jamie then Curvis almost throwing it away.
a bit of pucker time there for Jamie.
100%. The 20 cars started, 20 are still running. Albeit on outside of the top 14, they're all on different laps. Top 14 on the lead lap at the moment. Leg 2 of the Triple Crown. Double points on the line tonight if you're just joining us. Platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. We didn't expect this processional phase of the race to unwind in segment 1. I wouldn't have thought, JP. This is more a segment 2 or 3 sort of mentality.
100%. They've done really well. Everyone has behaved really well. Although having said that, looks like Ruben Phelps may have come to gotten into a bit of trouble there. He just had Dylan Davies and Michael Skurlock get around him.
Ruben Phelps drops 2 positions. But again, it can still be won from there at this early point of the race, unless we run caution free, in which case he's going to have to rely on strategy as well as pace to get him back to the front. There's Paul Jackson on screen. 12th at the moment.
At this stage, no one's really pushing that hard.
No.
Darren Mckenzie's got himself a nice little lead, and he's just holding that.
Funny, isn't it? I mean, we look at positions gained thus far. The big standout is Michael Skurlock with 6 positions gained. So too Stephen Williams.
Absolutely.
4 positions gained for Paul Jackson, and 2 for Jamie Nankervis.
No surprises there with Michael Skurlock. He's the silent assassin. He loves to come from the back of the field. Oh no!
Oh, trouble! And well held! Oh wow, Jackson with a big moment. A massive moment. An underwear changing moment. Oh, have a look at this. The 2 cars in front of Nigel Patton coming together, and only one of them being compromised. Oh boy, there's the first scare of the night. Jackson in 13th, loses out to Patton, loses out to Barber. Jackson in 13th now and 2 seconds off the pace. So 40 laps in the book. But that was more than a positional battle that he's lost out on there, and it's cost him a huge chunk of time as well. So it's a double blow for Jackson, and hopefully he hasn't done any serious damage to the rubber on the tyres as well.
Yeah, I was going to say phenomenal save by Jackson, but that's going to hurt his tyres, so he's going to need to back off a little bit there and let them cool down.
If that didn't wake you up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. It caught all of us off guard. That was extraordinary from Jackson. He won't be the only one to do that tonight, I'll give you the tip. Although that being said, expect it more so when the track cools down and the tyres are still warming up. So the start of each stint after a caution period, that's when you expect that sort of stuff. These guys have been running for 42 laps now. They're in a groove. Tyres are warm. They're comfortable. It'll be interesting to see how many take them and when in the next short while, because, well, the way I see it, JP, as far as the number crunching is concerned, there's no room for deviance in terms of the pit strategy, because, as we said, down the line, 63 laps to the 70-litre tank with the fuel burn in place. So that's 63, 126, and that gets you to 178. Or sorry, to 187, I should say. And it does so quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely. While they're running green, they're going to want to run every little bit of fuel out of that tank. Get as many laps as they possibly can. So here's where a little bit of strategy comes into play. We've got Darren Mckenzie. He's out and he's got himself a reasonable lead on Foster. Foster's starting to catch up to him. Are the cars further back, so looking at Schultz, Douglas, Skurlock, are they now trying to save a little bit of fuel?
The other thing too, those numbers are based purely on a full green flag run. They're not based on how many laps you can save under caution and all the variables that are associated with the safety car when and if we get one. No, it's not a guaranteed given, but we will get a safety car tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's there at the discretion of the iRacing internal official server to initiate a caution period if they see fit. They are the judge of that, not our crew here at the Weekend Warriors, which is very different, of course, to what you expect on the platforms of Supershed Broadcasting on a Tuesday and Wednesday night, where we do have a specific team in race control who do take charge when it comes to caution interventions. And they may need their trigger finger in fine form when we get to Tuesday night, because it's a reverse grid race around the Hungaro ring. If that doesn't have trouble written all over it, I'm not here. So we're almost at we are now, in fact, at the quarter-way mark of this race. Lap 47, 94 will be half race distance. So 47 will be 25% of the race done here on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Now, 187 laps. So as I say, 94 is halfway. I apologise earlier that I might have said a number that wasn't 94. I'm having trouble remembering that now. But 94 is halfway tonight. You can get home and be classified for points by just completing 94 laps. And it is double points, so all the more reason to stay out there and persevere with it, which is exactly, JP, why we see Paul Grady circulating down there, 24 laps down in last place in 20th, because he knows the importance of double points.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to keep picking up points and keep classifying.
So we're not too far away. We can't be far away. 63.6 was that fuel burn number that we spoke about. Fuel burn 1.111 litres a lap for a 70.7 litre tank. So 63, 64 is about where we expect these drivers to come in. I'm going to be very interested when we get to the post-race show, JP, to see just how these guys have gone with tyre wear. Are they begging for mercy at the moment, or are they good? Whatever the case, everyone takes fresh rubber this time round, I would think, given that they've got 3 sets at their disposal, and if they can get 63 laps to a stint here, they're only going to have to stop once more. 63 being the critical number in this race tonight. Again, 70.7 litres divided by 1.111, 63.63. They only just get there with a little bit of fuel saving. They only just get there 63, 126, 189. The race is 187 laps. You couldn't cut it any finer from a fuel burn perspective, JP. And that's why part of me tends to think that if we do get a caution, some of them will opt to come in inside the critical laps, or outside the critical laps rather, to deviate off strategy, get out of sequence with those around them, and try something different, because with the fuel burn being the way it is, and so close to the mark with regards to the number of laps in this race, the tyre wear seeming to be pretty good from what we're seeing out there on the circuit, and we are on lap 52. It might pay off to try something different tonight, because otherwise it's going to be follow the leader like what we're seeing on screen here for the entire 187 laps.
Yeah, but just remember that 1.111, that's also an average fuel read. Some of these guys will be burning more fuel, some of them will be burning slightly less fuel. But while we're under green, yeah, things are going to look very, very processional at the minute. And as we're seeing Stephen Williams starting to make a move, here we go.
Down on the inside of Ruben Phelps for 7th. That is Williams to 7th. Now, obviously, we've already heard Mark Johansson talk about the tricky entry to pit lane here. That is something that is going to become critically important to pay attention to in the next 5 minutes or so, because we're edging closer. We're on lap 54. Phelps trying to fight back around the outside and force the issue here. Whoa, I tell you what, you wouldn't want to leave any closer margin than that, would you?
That was
extraordinary close.
That was absolutely perfectly managed.
And that was coat of varnish stuff. That was brilliant.
And you could see Ruben was actually, Williams was actually lining up Phelps probably 3 or 4 laps before then. He was just following him, working out where his strengths were and Phelps' weaknesses were.
And he found one. I wouldn't have thought he would, but he found one. Because Phelps usually has a pretty strong game. There's no doubt about that.
Now this is fairly interesting with Mckenzie here. Mckenzie has decided maybe he wants to stamp his authority on this race. He started to clear out a little bit from Foster. We're getting into the dying stages here just before they need to come into the pits. So normally we tend to see Mckenzie get out fast and sort of use up his tyres fairly early, but he hasn't done that this time around. He's managed to be able to be really consistent.
So, and just to come back to a point that you made, mate, and I'm glad that you made it too, the guys that can save a little bit here on the fuel mileage, they're the guys that we've got to keep an eye on. Anyone that can do what's required to, to save half a litre throughout the course of a stint, that could pay dividends in the long run, if then you've got the potential to wind the wick up a little bit when it matters, when push comes to shove, when we get to the crunch end of the night. If we get, a situation where a safety car was to be deployed on, lap 180 and you're going to have a 3-lap sprint. Absolutely.
And I'm just having a look at the times here. Last lap, top 4, Mckenzie 30.83, Foster 30.84, Schultz 30.84, Douglas did a 30.82.
Astonishing, isn't it? The speed comparison, the closeness of this field tonight. Yes, it doesn't appear like that on screen at the moment. We all know why. They don't stick to each other like glue unless it's Talladega or Daytona. And still to be in clear air without any sort of terribly good assistance from slipstreaming and the like and bump drafting. They're still punching out numbers within thousandths of a second of one another. It is just magnificent to watch. So, lap 60 now for our race leader, Darren Mckenzie. You are currently watching the battle between Dylan Davies and Stephen Williams, 6th and 7th. Williams, I tell you what, JP, geez, he didn't muck around, did he? He cleared out of Ruben Phelps and said, right, see ya, watch me clear off into the sunset, if you pardon the pun. I've got business to do. I want to catch Dylan Davies.
Yeah, absolutely. After that move on Phelps, yeah, he's just cleared out now.
Round they come again. The 61st lap of this race for our race leaders. Mckenzie, Foster, Schultz, Dave Douglas. I mean, we talk all the time. It's very hard to compare supercars and stock cars, JP. It's like comparing apples and oranges, lemons and lime. But we talk all the time about who...
Oh, watch this!
Whoa! Big moment! Massive moment! That's going to work into the advantage of everybody if we get a caution. Who was it? It looks like whoever it was, they might have been able to save it. And we stay caution-free. It was Schultz, I think. He's dropped in behind Dave Douglas. Ed Foster goes to second. Douglas third. Schultz fourth. Then Skurlock, Davies, Williams, and Phelps the top 8. What a moment. And we somehow escape a caution yet again, JP. And I just cannot believe how on the ragged edge these guys are tonight.
Yeah, that was a real heart and mouth moment. I don't think it was Schultz. I think it was actually the driver behind Schultz, and I think he might actually be a lap driver.
Well, in that case, then that would be possibly Matt Patton, possibly David Campbell, possibly Michael Shaw, because Michael's only just come into the pit lane. Mark Smith's been in there for far too long. Paul Drady's the only other competitor that's any sort of laps down at this point in time. Geez, that was a big moment. I thought that car was about to meet concrete and we were about to have a caution.
Here we go.
Not the case. Here we go. Right on cue, the end of 64. And they are side by side on the run to pit lane. In fact, Schultz wants to lead it down pit road. Schultz takes the lead. Schultz goes on for another lap, actually. Skurlock goes on. This is Edward Foster going just ahead, edging just ahead of Darren Mckenzie down pit road.
Now, this could be really interesting. If I was Mckenzie and my pit box was in front of Foster's, which it isn't, I would have held him up.
100%. Absolutely. Got to play dirty sometimes, don't you? But this is exactly what we were going to talk about before that moment, a couple of moments ago there, JP. So Douglas, Foster, Mckenzie, McClintock, Barber, all in pit lane. Jackson's been in as well. And now Aidan Schultz comes in at the end of lap 65, whereas Skurlock, Williams and Phelps continue on. So this is a really long run for these guys first up. They cannot be too far away on fuel. They'd have to be in the next couple of laps. What's really interesting for mine, JP, we talk all the time, and we're going to see an indication of it here because everyone's gone either 63, 4 or 5. We talk in supercar land about, in our RSRA Super Series, about who might run the gauntlet, try something different, zig when everybody else zags. Well, we've already seen an indication of that tonight. Now we're only a short while away of seeing how it balances out. Stephen Williams, Ruben Phelps on pit road at the moment. Michael Skurlock continuing on. So he'll get 67 laps to his opening stint, which is an extraordinary number. Now he pits as well. So we'll wait and see how it all balances out, but it's been an interesting opening stanza.
Yeah, and so far Darren Mckenzie still hasn't put a foot wrong. He still has the lead of this.
And he's just clocked the fastest lap of the night too, if you don't mind. 29.45. Wow, what pace from Mckenzie. That's a huge number on fresh rubber.
Now, I'm sure Foster and Douglas won't buy into this. They're going to let Mckenzie run. They're sticking to their game plan. They'll keep their tyres as fresh as they possibly can, and then just follow him.
Lap 68 of 187, and Mark Johansson's down. So just going through it all now, because everyone's been in the last 5-6 laps, with the exception of Brett Campbell, who is 11 laps down and out of sequence because he stopped on lap 6. And also with the exception of Paul Drady, who still has a good 25, maybe or so laps left in this tank. The well, actually, there'd be more than that because he got last stopped on lap 13. So if he was smart enough, he would have topped up then, and he'll be right to go until well, the late 70s, mid 80s at this race. Now, what's interesting here, as we get on to lap 70, is that Darren Mckenzie's moved up 3 spots tonight. Edward Foster 1, Dave Douglas down 2, Aidan Schultz up 1, Michael Skurlock and also Stephen Williams up 6 and 8 positions respectively. But Ruben Phelps, Dylan Davies, Tristan Koch remain where they started. And Paul Jackson has gained 6 positions. Now, in all of that, we have Paul Jackson's about to come under pressure here from Darren Mckenzie to potentially go a lap down. We've got Patton a lap down, so too Barber and the other Patton, so Nigel and Matt both a lap down. Then Jamie Nankervis, Mark Johansson, and Scott McClintock is 2 laps down, Michael Shaw 3 laps down, and the rest aren't really in any sort of contention at all, given how far down the order they are in terms of laps down in this race. 71 laps in the book. We're on to lap 72. It's a 187-lap race. It's the Music City 400, the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series. Round 33 of 35. And now that we've got through that first round of pit stops and we're still waiting for a caution, we're all as surprised as each other. Let's take this opportunity to check in here with Mckenzie and Foster, because look at that, JP. Whilst there is lap traffic here, Darren Mckenzie might be able to use that to his advantage, but the bigger beneficiary here is going to be Edward Foster. He follows him right through. Now, remember, Foster wanted to be a cheeky bloke down pit road and say, no, I'm going to lead you down pit road by a whisker, and I'm going to go deeper and harder and take that lead off you before you get to the control line. Now, Foster's playing catch-up to Mckenzie, and it's not hard to see why. Mckenzie spent 1 less second on pit road than Ed Foster.
Yeah, and Mckenzie seems to be able to control that lead a little bit nicer. So Foster's catching up to him now, though. So it means that Foster's going to be using his tyres a little bit harder to try and catch up and stay with Mckenzie.
Indeed, he is. Now, before we crank up the volume a second time, I just want to see if Foster can get by Mckenzie here. If Foster wants to go, or is he happy to just follow the leader, let Mckenzie do the heavy lifting for the moment?
Oh, we got one out.
Straight. Oh, we got one in the wall. Now, who was that?
Matt Payton, let's have a look.
Matt Payton in some trouble there. He's in pit lane. This is how it's happened. And there was also another car moving very gingerly out of turn 2 there. Looked like it clouded the wall as well. So Patton's just pulled up and said, no, that's it. I need a tow. And then the other moment was halfway down the back straight there out of turn 2. Lap traffic, whether it was moving slowly or whether there was a bit of contact with the wall, that was, yeah, an interesting sort of moment. Lap 76 of 187. Right. Looks like Mckenzie's given himself a little bit of breathing space here. It's only half a second, but an inch is as good as a mile around Nashville. Let's crank up the volume for the second time tonight here on the platforms of SimShed, broadcasting across Facebook and YouTube. Saturday Night Motorsport, round 33 of the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series. Mckenzie, Foster, Douglas, Schultz, and Skurlock, the top 5 as we pass well and truly by third race. We're approaching halfway. On to lap 82 we go at the Nashville Super Speedway. Music City 400. It's a 400-kilometre race here on a Saturday night. The sun's setting. We hope you're enjoying the action wherever you're tuning in around Australia or indeed the world. Have a look at this. 0.3 of a second now. Mckenzie just snuck clear of Foster, clear of any threat in the early stages of that crank up the volume segment. Then all of a sudden, Foster's back within an arm's width and within a reach of him at this point of the game. Lap 83, remembering that 94 is half race distance tonight. So there's quite a few drivers here that have a bit of work to do in terms of getting to 94. But once we get to 94, everyone will grab points tonight by virtue of the fact that they'll have completed what is required by the series organisers, and that's half race distance, and merit the awarding of championship points. It's interesting too, JP, because, I mean, the Americans, the Yanks, they always do things differently. Whilst most world motorsports go, you know, it needs to be 75%. NASCAR, IndyCar, if we get the half race distance, more times than not, we've got a race.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have to do things differently, and it's a handful, even keeping up with how they keep score of these races.
Speaking of handfuls, the Indians have got their hands full at the moment. It's the 17th over, the end of the 17th over in the second T20 International, the 6th of 7 matches in this multi-format series between Australia and India. And the Indians, on a night where they desperately needed the W to stay in the series, have capitulated. They are 9 for 81. There is a real strong chance that they will not bat out the overs in this game. The Australians will be chasing less than 100 for victory in the second T20 International at Metricon Stadium on the Gold Coast. That is a huge performance from the Aussie bowlers who have India on the ropes at 9 for 81. And the only thing I like about 9 is that 9 times 9, 9 squared, is 81. So 9 for 81 is actually terrible reading. Oh, off goes Mark Johansson. That's a big shunt. That's a big shot from Johansson into the wall. Now, will that trigger a caution? No, it won't. He was far enough off the racetrack. See, that's the one big difference between sim racing and real world racing. It wouldn't matter if you were half an inch off the racetrack or 15 metres off the racetrack. They would throw a yellow at that point in time. So that is the big difference between what we do in the real world and what we're doing here. But yes, 9 for 81. That's a nice number for the mathematicians among us, but it's not a pleasant number or pleasant reading for the Indians here. We'll get back to the cricket a little bit later on. Another update for you soon, of course. It's interesting, isn't it? With all our other sports wrapped up, it's kind of like, well, where do we look on a Saturday night? No NRL, no rugby, no AFL. But at least there's some motorsport coming up tonight with the Turkish Formula 1 Grand Prix as well. And who would have thought that one of the lower order bats women would produce the best hit of the night? They've just slogged their first 6. Very nicely done. So, 89 of 107, 6 laps from half race distance. Hope you're enjoying it on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Zach Caban alongside JP on a Saturday night. And JP, we're at an interesting crossroads here, because if we keep going the way we are, it's one stop to home.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this a few times where the drivers, look, for want of a better word, they're behaving themselves during these first stints. No one's really done anything silly. No caution periods. Now they're going to come in for their next pit stop, and they're going to start to turn up the wick. So we might be getting into the danger period where they're really going to start pushing, and maybe something's going to happen.
Quite possibly. How many times this season, when we've been gathered together on a Saturday night, have we seen a sting in the tail? It's happened more times than not, no doubt about that.
Too many times to count, I think.
I think so. So it is 91 of 187 We've got Michael Shaw showing us off track at the moment as well. But he's now got back onto the circuit. So he's had an off-track incident, be it a skirmish onto the grass or below the white line. Let's wait and see. Here it is on replay out of turn 2. You can see the back end starting to go, can't you? Yep. And the front end, bang, into the wall and off into the same wall that Mark Johansson greeted only a short while ago. They are both on pit road at the moment. We have got Darren Mckenzie, Ed Foster. In fact, all the way down to Tristan Koch, top 9 on the lead lap. And that's the other thing too, JP. When we talk about races like, look at Iowa, for instance, look at Talladega, cautions breed cautions. And for the guys that are already laps down, it's too late. The ship has sailed. For the guys that are a lap down, they may have a chance to get back into this, but there are only 4 drivers in this field that would qualify for a lucky wave around being a lap down. Everyone else being 2, 5, 10 laps down, whatever the case may be. They are just racing for points at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, yeah, it's the status quo. Those guys are racing for points at the moment. It seems like the top 2 have got it well in hand, and they're going to start racing soon. But the reality is anything can happen.
The Australian women are saving their worst until last. 9 for 99 at the moment. They've had 4 wides just bowled then, and obviously getting carded for 6 a short while ago as well. So 9 for 99, but still a gettable target if ever there was one for the Aussies to secure the series tonight and play a dead rubber tomorrow. Here's Paul Drady on replay. Just down the main straight.
Making a move on Matt Patton there, but I think that's a move on Matt while he's in the pits.
Copy that. I think you're absolutely right. Around they come. Mark Smith still in pit lane as well, has been for 21 minutes. However, so okay, let's talk through the motions here. 41 laps away from being classified as Mark Smith at the moment. He needs to get 94. He's on 54 at the moment. He's just completed 53. He's in pit lane. He's been there for 21 minutes, but he needs to get out. So what did I say? He needs 41. So he needs to be back out on the racetrack by no later than the end of the lap 34, 35 to err on the side of caution and get back out there, potentially lose another lap during green flag running to be classified. So it's now a game of maths from the other end of the race. How late can we stop? How late can we get back on the track to get enough laps circled to get classified? How early can we pit to get home on fuel and tyres? How late can we pit without burning up the tyres too much, without running empty on the fuel tanks? So many different variables. Even though this is a rather processional affair, JP, there are a few crew chiefs at the moment. No doubt you'll be able to see the smoke pouring off them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it might seem processional at the moment, but there's plenty of calculating going on, plenty of strategy going on still. And we're now seeing Aidan Schultz starting to make a move on Dave Douglas.
Indeed, he is trying to close in here. So Foster's only half a second away from Darren Mckenzie. Schultz is 0.4 of a second away from Douglas. They're the 2 active battles at the top end of town. 9 drivers still on the lead lap here. It's Weekend Warriors Cup car racing the Music City 400 from Nashville. And you are watching it live on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Round 33 at 35. We're on lap 100, so we're past halfway. So I'm pleased to report that as of this very moment, 14 drivers are classified, and Michael Shaw will be next time by the line. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the other 5 behind Michael Shaw to see how many can be classified at the end of the night. But at this point in time, 14 drivers. And it's about to be 15 with Michael Shaw coming across the line will be classified. Mark Johansson joins us in the booth for the first time during the race. What's the What's the state of play in your garage, please?
She's a dead.
Oh, no. Well, to be fair, we were interested in that because you had a heavy hit, mate, but you didn't trigger a caution.
No, I got into the outside wall and came in, got a set of tyres and got it repaired. But then I went back out and it broke loose again and ended up on the grass. And once you get on the grass, there's no stopping these things. They just keep going, and big knock down the left. So it's all over Red Rover.
Unlucky, mate, because at the end of the day, you were only 11 laps from halfway, so 11 laps from being classified. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's racing though, Zach. You know what it's like in real life motorsport, and it's the same here. Next week, we'll live to fight another day.
Indeed, we will.
Have a look at this,
now,
guys.
Let's have a look at this. Yeah, you're right. You're onto it, JP.
30.79 for Darren Mckenzie, 30.79 for Ed Foster, 30.95 for Dave Douglas, and 30.77 for Aidan Schultz. So these guys have done 103 laps, call it 104 laps now, and they're still just consistently running within absolute spitting distance of each other.
Extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, the pure intensity of that little psychological mind game that's being played between who's the fastest on the rubber at the moment, and I mean they're 40 laps into the stint. They pitted at the end of 63. They're 40 laps into their stints now, and Mckenzie, Foster, Douglas, and Schultz are still battling it out and punching out lap times within 0.2 of a second of each other. They're nowhere near each other on the racetrack in terms of Foster's 3.5 seconds clear of Douglas, but first and second going stroke for stroke, and Douglas and Schultz going punch for punch. It is terrific to watch. Across the line again, 105 in the books, onto 106 we go. What have you made of the race so far, Mark? Because I mean we've observed it from the outset as rather processional in parts, but not without its moments. There have been some good overtaking manoeuvres. There's been some good racecraft, and there have been a couple of nice saves as well. Case in point.
What I was going to say to you there is that I know there's been some good saves coming out of that turn one and two. Some fantastic saves.
That one from Dave Douglas, but not enough to keep Aidan Schultz at bay. Schultz moves into third, having a good run tonight. Douglas is right there, wants to respond, can't do it just yet. Tricky little circuit, this one, Dave. Mark, isn't it? I mean, Dave Douglas came out tonight and said, I want that Triple Crown. I'll do everything I can to do it. And he is fighting with this thing really hard, isn't he? You can just see how much he's struggling to keep it in a straight line at the moment. It is all over the place. They are on the ragged edge.
Yeah, definitely. I was expecting it to rubber up a little bit more than what it has. Maybe if we had a few more cars, it may have taken some more rubber. But, not everyone can make every Saturday night, and that's the downfall on racing Saturday night.
Indeed it is. So we continue on here wherever you're tuning in on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Great to have your company. Mark Johansson will be with us for the rest of the night now that his race personally is done. We're good to report that there are still 19 cars on the circuit. Brett Campbell's about to get himself classified for the night and earn some championship points because he's only half a lap off going to halfway. And Michael Shaw, another lose. But again, not enough to trigger a caution. We have not seen a lose enough to smash the wall, crunch the car, trigger the yellows. Just yet. It has been iRacing not as trigger happy as they are in the real world.
The good thing there, Zach, is that the big infield. So if the cars get right off into the infield like I did and smack that inside wall, they ain't going to throw no caution because it's not going to impede anyone on the track. So it's a good thing in one way and a bad thing in another.
Yes, because I sense that if we don't get a caution, it's a two-stop race, and that second stop is coming up in the next 20 laps. But if we do get a caution, then there's that, proposition of, do I try something different? Do I go against the grain? Do I take tire and that extra set of rubber? Do I take a plunge? Do I take a punt? So we're just being deprived of those tactical games that we're used to seeing on these oval races.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think next week we'll see a few more. Good save there from Darren.
Massive save. Now, just on next week, where are we off to, please?
We're off to Michigan. I think that's a 300
2-miler in the Irish Hills.
Yes, that's it. I think that's a 300-mile race. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge again.
Yeah, it's going to be. Way down on the wrong side of the racetrack. There is some. Is that lap traffic? Just getting out of the road. Yeah, very nicely done too. I mean, it's one thing to continue about your race. It's another to sacrifice a lot of speed to get out of the road of those that are still in contention. And I am pleased to report that Brett Campbell is now classified in this as well. So 16 classified. Paul Drady will be the next to get himself to halfway, and then we've got to wait a long time for... Actually, no. We won't be seeing Mark Smith and we won't be seeing Matt Patton. They too are retirements tonight. Mark Johansson as well. So at the very best, 17 drivers will be classified tonight. This is lap 114 of 187. You're riding with Dave Douglas. Let's crank up the volume and see if he can do anything about getting by Aiden Schultz. Get us back on. Oh boy, just as we've been talking about a yellow, the potential to maybe do something different, go against the grain, along comes our first caution of the night. This is how it happened. And this is Michael Shaw. And he was so close to getting back in some sort of contention here, but not to be. He's come unstuck. That's not the incident, though. He is back in pit lane. He had got past halfway, as has Brett Campbell. Paul Drady's close enough to getting to halfway now. But Michael Shaw has smacked the wall on the top side. Yep, that'll do it every day of the week. And that triggers our first caution. But it also triggers quite the conundrum here, boys. We are 72 laps from home, and the fuel tank says 63. Can they save enough to get home from here, or are they relying on cautions breeding cautions to help them with their mission here? This is a tantalizing prospect from now, because it's either win it or bin it and try and go for the hero move of fuel saving all the way, or concede to the fact that you may need a splash and dash with about 15 to go.
My money's on the splash and dash. I don't think a lot of them will want to save. They've probably got another set of tyres. So if there's another caution, everyone will dive in to the pits for another set of tyres and a top up. I think that's probably the way it'll run.
It's also interesting too, JP, because if they've only done 2 pit stops, which they have, Darren Mckenzie's still the leader, and he's pretty well led all the way tonight, with the exceptions of that first pit stop cycle. The interesting thing is they've used 2 sets now of tyres. They still have a fresh set there, a late race caution, and it could be a case of all hell breaking loose on fresh rubber. All of a sudden, Michael Shaw's done the entire race a huge service, hasn't he? Unfortunately for him, he's in pit lane. He is classified, but it's a long way home from there. And now you see the rest of the field coming in to complete their compulsory stop, or their top up, I should say. So 70 to go, and a hell of a lot now has changed.
And look who's back up in first place has inherited first place. I think Paul may no. That's all right. Because I was going to say, if it's 80 points for Paul, it's going to be a big ask for round 3 at the SimShed 500 for anyone to take it away from him.
Absolutely. Oh, boy. Who's your money on from here, boys? I mean, Darren Mckenzie's been so strong all night, but now everyone's going to have to adapt to the game change and the fact that we're now looking at, instead of 2 stops, 3 at minimum. I mean, who knows? If there's cautions, do you come in and take that punt early on tyres? Do you wait it out? Do you you won't need to worry about fuel if we get another caution, because you should be able to save enough. But there is also that prospect that if we go green all the way, a lot of these guys should not make it, mathematically speaking, on fuel. So, it's horses for courses. There's so many different plans of attack, or ways to attack this, I should say.
Yeah, it's early, but I'm going to say from here on in, it's going to be on.
Oh, yeah. Don't be surprised if we see, now that we've had 1 caution, don't be surprised if we see 2, 3 or 4.
But look at this. Interesting. Michael Skurlock, Dylan Davies, Nigel Patton have gone back in for fuel. So they've gone back in for a top-up.
Interesting move. Not a bad gamble either. Not a bad gamble. I mean, it could backfire as soon as we get another caution. Lights out on the safety car. We're going back green this time by lap 119. 69 from home.
So I think all bets are off now.
There'll be 68 to go when we come back across the line, remembering that 63 constitutes a full tank, and we saw a couple of guys get to 65 and 6. Only a couple stretch it that far. And, I mean, if we get another caution, I don't mind betting that everybody would then try and stretch it the same way because of the amount of fuel they might be able to save under the caution. Tantalising prospect to consider as we get ready for the first restart of the night. Lap 119. We'll start this thing again on lap 120, and it'll be 68 laps to go. Buckle up, Australia. Hold on. This thing's far from done. Let's go. One more time.
Great jump there from Darren.
Huge getaway. Oh,
absolutely fantastic.
That was clinical from Darren Mckenzie. That was sensational. Well done. Couldn't have done it any better than that.
Have a look at this.
Now look at this, the side-by-side action. Schultz on the inside of Foster, forcing the issue. And Schultz is going to second. Down in turn 3. Foster wants to force the issue on the high line, but he's under pressure from Douglas on the low line. Now Douglas chops in behind. Douglas then goes low. Look at Phelps as well weighing into this. Don't be surprised if we see another caution just by how close these guys are getting. And Phelps is tailing through turn 2. Oh, that's magnificent car control. Second lap under green, remembering that they just took on fresh tyres. The tyres are still cold. They're still warming up here. They are on the ragged edge. This is awesome.
Mckenzie's showing a purple sector here. He might take out another fastest lap.
Tell you what, the battle for fastest lap of the race so far, it's been a hell of a slog, hasn't it? There has been nothing shy of maybe hundreds, thousandths of a second separating these guys tonight. It's been phenomenal to watch. The battle on the clock. 123 of 187, 65 to go. 29.27 if you don't mind for Darren Mckenzie. What about that?
That's unbelievable, this late in the race.
Fastest lap of the night, and did it in clear air.
I will make a comment on the on Darren's car and Shori's car. They've formed a new team in Southern Stars, and their paint livery looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it does. So here is Darren Mckenzie in the meantime. Aidan Schultz, Edward Foster, Dave Douglas, Ruben Phelps, Stephen Williams, and Tristan Koch, the top 7 at the moment. Dylan Davies is 8th now. with the waiver rounds and lucky dogs, I'm pleased to say, we have now got 11 cars on the league lap here. 11.
So
First car lap down is Ryan Barber in 12th, JP.
yeah, you can see after that restart, the intensity's gone up a few levels.
Oh, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Even in the booth, we're all on edge a little bit more than what we were half an hour ago. Oh, trouble.
Someone
Car
close.
off.
Brett Campbell.
Brett Campbell's had an off, but far enough that it doesn't trigger the caution, which is unlucky for anyone trying to fuel save from here, I would say. This is how it happened. He hasn't got the wall, and that it seems to be that now he has. There it is. I was going to say, it seems to be that the wall has been the trigger point, but they weren't too keen to pull the trigger on that one on the simsnap.com iRacing photography replay. Back along the back stretch we go. Now, after being 9 for 81, the Indians managed to somehow scrape their way to 122. So the Aussies are chasing 123 for win number 3 of this 7-match series, and it would be a win that would see them over the line against the Indians in the fight here. So I'll keep you posted on all of that as we continue on here. 61 laps to go. And look at this. Tristan Koch down the inside of Stephen Williams. Williams was terribly taily out of 2. And that was just the invitation that Tristan Koch was only too happy to take. Through to 6th.
Absolute textbook.
And it was. And that's the thing. We're seeing a lot of slip and slide tonight that we're not accustomed to seeing. And Mark Johansson, the problem with that is if you wash off too much speed, it's a mongrel to try and get it back. You spend way, way, way too long on a circuit this small trying to get back to where you were on the speed front.
Yeah, definitely. And it also hurts your rear tyres. So once you start sliding, once you find that you end up sliding just about every lap, unless you keep it very, very straight.
Is there another caution? Is there a sting in the tail? Oh, wait and see. How good's this been so far?
And have a look at this. Darren Mckenzie has cleared out to a 1.6 second lead.
It's an awesome getaway. It's an awesome lead at this point of the night. And an inch is as good as a mile here. He hasn't looked terribly comfortable in sense of the margin, but he hasn't looked challenged either tonight. Now he's both. He's comfortable and he can't be challenged. The guys are too far back, but has the horse bolted too early? Has he started the run home too early, Darren Mckenzie? Will he get drawn back to the pack or pulled back to the pack as the tyre wear takes effect somewhere down the road in this stint, Mark?
Look, he's probably got enough just to lift his foot just that little bit, and keep an eye on his times to Aiden. That's what I would be doing. I'd just be easing off that little bit more, slightly slower into the turn, and drive it very straight coming out of the turn. But with him being out there by himself too, he's going to be using that fraction a little bit more fuel. So he may run into fuel issues towards the end.
That's the problem. That's what we're waiting to see. Who can stretch it? Who's going to have to splash and dash? Who will sacrifice their race?
Well, this is a bit interesting.
Try and be the hero, JP.
This is a bit interesting because if you look at first, second, and third, they're all separated by about a second, by over a second each. So no one's really going to be getting the benefit of any toes. So they're kind of all three of them on their own out there.
What's it look like further back there, JP? Is Steve Williams and Dave Douglas Ruben working together, or are they all still separated too?
You've got to go down to 6th place where we're seeing Tristan Koch and Dylan Davies fighting for position there. Otherwise, pretty much 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. They're about a second away from each other.
Now, if I was these guys, I'd be trying to get talking to each other and trying to work together, get working together, getting in each other's stream, and try and save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, here we go.
By working together.
Ruben Phelps is starting to make inroads on Dave Douglas. But all the while this is going on, Darren Mckenzie is stretching out his lead. He's almost to a 2-second lead now on Aidan Schultz.
Awesome stuff so far. We are heading towards 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time and 11 o'clock in New Zealand. Of course, almost 6 o'clock for those of you over there in WA. Good on you, WA. So far behind that an extra hour doesn't matter. We are enjoying your company on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting this Saturday evening as we edge ever closer to the end of this 33rd round, third last round. All the threes lining up again of the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series for Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine in 2021. And we have just 51 laps to go next time by the line. And that is now for Mckenzie. So he's on the run home. Schultz is second. Foster third. Douglas, Phelps, Kosh, and Davies. Phelps and Kosh is the battle you're watching. And Kosh is all over the back of Phelps, but not close enough to make an attack. Make a lunge at this point in time. And still tailing off the exit of turn 2 for Phelps. And now Kosh with a great run down the inside. Tristan Kosh is in the top 5.
So this is the question. You're Darren Mckenzie. Do you jump into the pits on the critical lap, or do you stay out there as long as you possibly can and hope for a caution?
To be fair, we'd be on that critical lap. We are beyond the critical lap. 63 from home would have been enough. So that would have been 125 to play on the safe side. That would have been the 63rd last lap of the race. So end of 124, you would have been okay to stop there and get home. But I think the more important issue now, Mark Johansson, is tyre wear. And the longer you can stay out in this stint, the shorter the next stint has to be, the better that's going to be on your rubber. And anyone in this paddock that has an idea of where that crossover point is between tyres being great and tyres being good, they might have the advantage here because they'll know that critical lap in terms of that tyre wear, and they'll pounce.
Definitely. If it was me, I'd be trying to push this as far out as I can. Although if you want to, probably here, you could probably just take the right side tyres on that last stop and take a splash of fuel to save some time in pit lane. So maybe that might be what a few of them might be thinking about too.
Oh boy, we're at a very interesting crossroads junction of this race. There's no doubt about that. So Campbell and Johansson still in pit lane. Drody out of the race now as well, we can confirm. So we're down to 15 unless Brett Campbell can get back out there. The good news is that 17 will be classified finishers tonight by virtue of the fact that they got past halfway. In response to India's 118, Australia 1 for 4 as we go around the grounds for the first time in the Australian innings. Unfortunately, Alyssa Healy hit the first ball for 4 and then got clean bowled the second. As we have a look at Kosh now. Kosh and Phelps still side by side. Phelps around the outside. Whoa! Covered him off by the narrowest of margins, millimeters in it, and they haven't rubbed a coat of varnish between them all night. This has been good stuff.
There's been some real big improvers through the year. I really hope that a lot of these guys come back next year and race with us. I can tell you there has been 3 4-car teams already indicating that they're back next year. 2-car team and a solo car team. So it's already looking good for next year. We've got a yellow.
Another one. It's our second of the night. And now all bets are off. Everyone comes in, everyone takes those fresh tyres and tops up the fuel just to the point to get them home. And then we have a race to the checkered flag. Michael Shaw causes his second caution of the night. And this one is banging to the wall. That's why. He was right in the middle of the track. Oh, he got cleaned up as well. Was that Nigel Patton? No, it was Paul Jackson. Paul Jackson in the 2-3-1.
And Nigel Patton.
And Nigel Patton as well behind him. So Paul Jackson, unfortunately, crunches into, unfortunately, Michael Shaw there. And we have our second caution of the night. But, okay, so I was very quick to say that we will see these guys come in, take fuel, grab that fresh set of rubber. Is anyone here game to try and save as much as they can under this caution, knowing full well that 2 cautions was all it was going to take to save the fuel required to get home, and then try and see how you're going to run on that set of tyres? By the looks of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody's in. Everybody knows the importance of the fresh rubber at this point of the race, and this will be that 4th and final set.
I'd be interested to see if anyone just takes right, Zach, just the right side.
Yeah.
Now, this is also interesting. Darren Mckenzie was starting to lose ground to Aidan Schultz just before that caution period. So this has fallen right into Darren's hands.
It certainly has. The top 6 have all come in. The top 6 are the contenders on the lead lap. It's Sherlock, Davies, Williams, and Patton that are all a lap down, hoping to get back on the lead lap.
It looks like from
now
my view,
Mckenzie has got back out in front of Schultz and Phelps, but Douglas and Foster might have got the jump mark.
Yeah, everyone in that top 4, 5 have taken 4 tyres, and Edward's been able to jump up into second place.
Okay, we've got a little bit of an issue with our timing for the moment, but we will get back to that for you in just a tick, ladies and gentlemen, in just a short while. We are on lap 146 of 187. We've got 42 to go, including the one we're on. This is a critical point of the motor race. This is huge, right here and now.
The big thing here, Zach, is all sustained damage. So that's going to hurt him in the points.
Absolutely.
Because he's leading coming into this round.
As far as the Triple Crown is concerned, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry.
And he'll be disappointed by that. There's no doubt. But this works perfectly for someone like Dave Douglas. He said, "I want that Triple Crown. How do I make it happen?"
I'm just going to try and
do
a quick arithmetic-y thing here.
Yep, sounds good.
Got to find some stuff on me. So, Dave Douglas will go to the top. Aidan should go into second.
Yep.
Darren should be running third in the Triple Crown. And Steve Williams should go to fifth in the Triple Crown. So there's going to be some big movers here at the end of this for the Triple Crown.
Indeed, oh, geez, we have got such an exciting prospect on our hands when we get to Daytona for the final round of not only the championship but also the Triple Crown. Exciting prospect on our hands here as well, because Darren Mckenzie has led this thing pretty much all night. Edward Foster's right there with him. Dave Douglas, Ruben Phelps, Aidan Schultz, Michael Sherlock are there too. The 015, don't worry about Brett Campbell. He's a lap down. He's just been released. Now we get set for, well, is it the final restart of the night, or are we destined to keep seeing the caution, the safety car intervene now that we've had 2 safety cars breed safety cars? We went over 100 laps before we got our first, and it got to a point where it just threw a spanner in the works with regards to strategy. We have now seen already one more stop than what was probably anticipated at the 100-lap mark tonight. Now with 40 laps to go, we wait and see how this next sequence of the race unfolds.
The
This is awesome.
The interesting thing here is to see if Darren jumps early or he holds the field back.
Exactly right. What would you do if it was you, Mark?
If I'd gone early before, I'd hold him right back until the start-finish line and then jump on it.
Let's see what Darren does here.
He's gone early.
Absolutely, he has. He went real early and he said, thank you very much. I'll have 3 car lengths on you. We're back underway in Nashville. Brilliant restart from Mckenzie yet again. No surprise there. Less than 40 to go. 39 to go. Can anyone do anything about Edward Foster? What can Ruben... Oh, geez, that was a big moment. Ruben Phelps is ahead of Aiden Schultz in the battle of a third. Schultz will be desperate to get back up there. This is the highest Ruben Phelps has been all night.
And yeah, I was just going to say, I missed that.
Now buried in 7th position as Foster has an equally as big a moment. Oh, how's the underwear, boys? There might be a couple of them looking for an invoice on the underwear at the end of this.
Oh, no!
Contact! They're both gone! And that triggers another caution. Foster and Schultz have come together. Wow. The fireworks have gone off here. Oh, boy. We have our 3rd caution, and that one really works into the favour of Darren Mckenzie.
Most definitely.
Because it's 2 of the guys that have been on his tail all night that have come together. Ruben Phelps was there. Schultz was on the high line. Have a look at this on replay as they come down the main straight. Phelps got tailied. That balked. That balked Foster, and then Foster had nowhere to go. Into the side of Schultz. Schultz clouts the wall, and then they're both passengers. That's huge. I mean, they're lucky it wasn't a bigger accident than that, but that is huge in the context of the race because now you look at everyone that's just come in to get fuel and tyres. They won't need to do it this time, but they probably now didn't also need to do it last time if their tyres were good enough to get them to the end. So it's a game of swings and roundabouts at the moment. A couple of underwear changing potential moments there as well, as we've already said. Heart in your mouth sort of stuff.
And also, Zach, look who's come up.
Yeah.
Mr. Skurlock. Yeah. He's now come up into the top 5.
Although that being said as well, the other big beneficiary out of that garbage that just unfolded there is Dave Douglas, because he had his separate moment the lap before. He now just got 2 positions back and got him for nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
So Foster and Schultz are in.
Well, that's hardly surprising. They'll come in. They won't be throwing fresh rubber at it, I wouldn't think, JP. I think everyone's used their 3 fresh sets, but they will be inspecting potential damage. And in Schultz's case, I reckon he did have a little bit, because he did hit the wall. Foster kept it off the wall. Schultz did not.
I know we've been having a few issues with the background. He was like, somehow tonight's races ended up with 255 fast repairs on the server. But I know the guys haven't used them because they've been asked not to. So one driver came in. He's put his hand up straight away that he had a fast repair. So he's given himself a 5-minute penalty. So he's covered off his post-race penalty with that. So it looks like everyone else has done the right thing too and used no fast repairs tonight. So that's good.
This is just extraordinary what we're seeing here at the moment. We had 115 laps of clean racing, and then bang, bang, bang. The cautions keep flying. The elbows are out. They mean business. Schultz would have been hungry for the win tonight, just as Mckenzie would have been, just as of course, Foster would have been. Foster was brilliant last week. Now, all of a sudden, well, all bets are off because Phelps is now a chance of taking it to Mckenzie. But I think, all being fair and equal, I think Mckenzie is still in the box seat here. It would take a lot for Foster and Schultz to get back into it now, boys. The dark horse, the danger, again, Dave Douglas.
Most definitely. And I wouldn't count out Stephen Williams either, sitting there in fifth. So he can sneak under the radar at times too. So anyone in that top 6, 7 cars, I would say don't count out. But it definitely looks like Darren's been driving well enough tonight, and yeah, so we'll see. This is the definite one where I'd hold everyone back.
We go round one more time behind the pace car. The lights are out on that pace car. We will go back to green this time by, and it will be a 32 laps dash to the checkered flag, or will it? Are we set for another caution? Are we staring down the barrel of a green-white checker cliffhanger? Who knows? We didn't see the first caution coming. We certainly didn't see the next two. It took all night for the caution to play its part, and what a part it's played. 155 of 187. Now, the other interesting point here, what will Foster and Schultz be able to muster up from 8th and 9th? Will they be able to get back into this, or is that their night done? Is that their hopes dashed? Oh, boy, ladies and gentlemen, buckle yourself up. Take a breath and hold on, because this thing just got interesting. Certainly more so than what it was half an hour ago. Of course he has. That's been his main play all night. And it's a psychological thing, isn't it, Mark? Eventually, these guys are going to say, oh, this time he might go, he might hold us back. He might not go early. And then he throws the dummy and says, no, I'm just going to stay to the same plan of attack that I've had all night. Stay on the same wavelength. Not vary it up, not spice it up. When it's working, why try and fix it? Why try and reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, 3 wide.
What? 3 wide down the main straight. That's insane. These guys are having a night at the office. This is fantastic. Down on the low line. Through they go. Sherlock, I should say, to second. Phelps. Then Douglas. Williams, Kosh, Foster. Then Davies, Schultz, and Patton. Davies and Schultz. Schultz needs to find a way through, and he has done on Davies now. Foster is the next target, but Foster and Schultz, I'm not sure if they're going to be mates or sparring partners after their earlier moment, but whatever one does, the other's going to have to do if they want to work together to get back through to where they were. Second and third and fourth. Whoa, big save from Skurlock. And he nearly collected Phelps, who goes into second now. And there is Dave Douglas as well. Big moment for Douglas here. Does he sit back and watch the fireworks erupt, or does he have a crack? Mckenzie has bolted 1.1 up the road. Less than 30 laps to go now. We're on the home stretch. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuning in on our platforms. The SimShed Broadcasting, Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, and Nashville delivering a classic here. Eventually, we got there. It was a little bit practice sort of viewing early on. People were just going about their own business. We saw a lot of processional running, but we appreciate that to get this, because this is top shelf stuff. Down on the low line. Phelps is second, holding off Skurlock. Douglas is there as well. If you're Skurlock, do you want to have a look? Are you mindful of Mckenzie normally bolting at the gate and then being brought back by the pack as the race goes on? But they're running out of time. Lap 161, a number so special in Australian motorsport. Now down the inside, Phelps and Skurlock and Douglas. Douglas gets by Skurlock. Does he? No, my apologies. That's Foster. That's Foster. Coming back through on Douglas. Wow. What a fight back from him. Poor old Douglas has been left behind here by Skurlock, and Foster's pounced. That's extraordinary stuff. Mckenzie, Phelps, Skurlock, Foster. Foster's still a chance of a podium. Schultz has probably got the pace to get there as well.
Skurlock will make that car as wide as possible.
Oh, another Taylor moment for Dave Douglas, and this time Aidan Schultz will have the opportunity to pounce as well. Look at that. He closes right up onto the back of Douglas. Now, Douglas needs to be mindful of the Triple Crown. He does not want to throw this away. But that car is on the ragged edge right now. It is sliding everywhere. 25 to go becomes 24 to go, ladies and gentlemen. There are 12 minutes in this if we stay green. 12 minutes between us and the checkered flag, a little bit more if we have to see the safety car intervene once more. Who knows? We didn't, as I said, at one point there, it looked like a two-stop race, no safety car, in and out in just on 95 minutes. Not anymore. You're right on board with Dave Douglas, and Mark Johansson, you know better than anyone in this commentary box. You drive these cars all the time. The steering wheel, commitment, the handling. Oh, it's a testament to you guys.
I can tell you also, Zach, around here, with it being cement, people think maybe cement be nice and smooth, but I can tell you one thing, that this track is extremely bumpy.
Across the start-finish line again. 22 laps to go.
Does that put Foster back up in the third?
It certainly does. Round the outside of Skurlock. How about that? Here it is. A replay for you. Foster has wasted no time getting back to the pointy end of town. If I was Ruben Phelps, I'd be worried. There he goes, down the inside. So he got down on the inside, and then he's gone high to cover off. Yep. And very nicely done, too.
He just drove it out of that corner, nice and straight.
Oh, yeah. Very nicely done from Foster. Back into third. Phelps the next target. Foster. Oh, it's almost like a red mist moment, isn't it?
Definitely.
He's one of those raging bulls that's been smashed over the head. Red mist has descended. He's really brought an extra gear to this final stint. Have a look at this now. I hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuning in around Australia. This has been a cracking final half of this race, but it's not over yet. 20 laps to go. Is there a sting in the tail coming? Can Mckenzie be caught? The suggestion, the anticipation is no, not at this stage. He's been brilliant all night. This is a track that really has suited him. It really agrees with him. But it's not done yet. Phelps, Foster and Skurlock, then Douglas, Schultz, Williams and Davies, then Kosh and Patton. They're the 10 on the lead lap. Just quickly as well, ladies and gentlemen, Formula One qualifying coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Tonight, the Turkish Grand Prix rain at the Istanbul Park Circuit. Now, we remember last year's race, most of it was run on intermediates after a wet morning there. So it'll be interesting to see how qualifying unfolds tonight.
Come on, Daniel.
Eastern Daylight Time. And he didn't have the best run in practice, did Daniel? But
no,
we'll wait and see. I think in the wet weather, though, it's a different can of worms, isn't it? It's a completely different exercise, and I think that's going to suit McLaren. And well, to be fair, Pierre Gasly was fastest as well, so who knows? Rain has arrived in Turkey for those of you that are interested in Formula One. Daniel Ricciardo was 14th and Lando Norris 15th in that session. So at least Dan's been consistent. He was 14th in practice too as well. We can only hope that he moves up throughout the course of the weekend, but not every track suits every driver, every car. 17 to go, becomes 16 to go here. You're watching the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series. It's the 33rd of 35 rounds. We're with you next week from Michigan in the Irish Hills, then on to Daytona the week after. My presence in that final broadcast, I could be afloat. I read it out because of some commitments with the Queensland Touring Car Championship that day, but we are looking forward to it immensely. All the same, down the low line. This is Schultz all over the back of Douglas at the moment. Williams is there as well. This is the battle for fifth. They do not want to wreck each other. They cannot afford to. Oh, boy. Talk about pressure. I mean, it's... now, even more importantly... Whoa! Big moment there from Douglas. He's jumped up, covered off Schultz, and here comes Schultz down the low line. Williams is there as well. Williams is probably just best off to sit back and hold on and enjoy the view, because if these two get into the side of each other, he's going to be picking up 2 places into the top 5. But no, he wants to get involved in it as well. Typical racer's intuition, isn't it? Round the outside goes Douglas. Down the low line goes Schultz. We have 14 laps to go. Mckenzie, Phelps, Foster, Skurlock. And important to note, only 0.6 of a second now separating Mckenzie and Phelps. They are charging home. There are 2 battle packs to keep an eye on here. And look at this. Look at Douglas up on the high line. And now Williams on the low line. Oh, the tag team having to do the double on Schultz, but Schultz gets Williams back on the outside. 5, 6, and 7 going at it just as hard as 1, 2, 3, and 4 maybe about to. This is awesome. Foster the fastest at the 4 at the front. He's within striking distance of Phelps. They're about 2/3 of a second off Mckenzie, just so that you know, but we're going to stay here. There is Mckenzie now. Look at the gap. It has narrowed significantly. But they are not going at it as hard yet as what you're seeing Douglas, Schultz, and Williams do. Mckenzie has been the form man all night.
We've got a wreck.
Oh, no trouble. Schultz and Douglas. They've come together again. Earlier it was Schultz and Foster. Now it's Schultz and Douglas. Through turn 2. Douglas got Taylor, and then bang, he had nowhere to go, poor Aiden Schultz. He cannot take a trick. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. It was a sting in the tail, not the one those two would have been hoping for. And that has implications for Douglas when it comes to the Triple Crown. And we've got a caution and a green-white checker, and that works beautifully for Ed Foster. But not so for Darren Mckenzie. Oh, boy. 10 laps to go as they cross the line here. And it is still well and truly up for grabs. And these guys are jumping down into pit lane. Now, have they sold us a sucker all night and they've got a spare set of tyres waiting for them?
They must have a set of tyres in their pocket. We saw when Foster pitted, he went up on the jacks and he got tyres, so he's stuck with what he has. So Mckenzie, the rest of them are in the pits. They have a set of tyres in their pockets.
Now, just quickly for my benefit, Mark Johansson, when you take a set of tyres, if you take just the rights, you then can come in and take just the lefts, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's of any benefit to anyone at this particular point in time, but that might be what they're doing.
By the view of that, they're all taken 4, so...
Yep.
Oh, boy.
That'll be 4 tyres.
This just got really interesting all of a sudden, didn't it? I mean, my goodness gracious me. You could not pick this. You cannot script races like this, Mark Johansson. This is going to be another epic scrap to the conclusion.
I'll just duck down to the Southern Stars team, and I'll just double check that Darren did take 4.
Copy that, mate. Thank you. And we'll wait to hear back from Mark in just a moment. Oh, wow. JP, does your money stay on Darren Mckenzie, even though he's just gone in and thrown everyone a sucker? Or does it now go to Edward Foster because he has been just clinical in that last 25 laps or so ever since the contact with Schultz?
Foster's absolutely brilliant at defending, and he will do everything that he can to make that car wide. However, he's going to be giving up almost a second in pace to Darren Mckenzie. So all Darren Mckenzie has to do is just be patient and wait for the right opportunity. Get in underneath Foster, and then he'll be able to make that move stick.
And let's not forget as well, if Phelps can go with Mckenzie, he was reeling him in the lead up to that caution being thrown.
100%.
All right, Zach JP, Darren definitely took 4 tyres, and as far as I'm aware, Ruben took 4, and Skurlock took 4, and Williams took 4.
So that's definitely a talking point for the post-race show. We'll have to ask these guys how they played their tyre strategy, because in the terms of taking 4, well, that's the 4th time they've been down pit road tonight. It doesn't make sense unless you do the maths and find out that they've taken 2 lefts in one stop and 2 rights in another, and etc. and so forth. So we'll talk tyre strategy with these guys at the end here. The lights will most likely go out on the safety car this time by, which means when we get back to the line, it will be 7 laps to go. And it will be a sprint of 3.5 minutes, no change, unless potentially we get another caution, which will push us into overtime.
Now, this is going to be really interesting because I was talking about being patient before. That strategy is completely out the window because you've got Phelps, Skurlock, Williams, all on fresh tyres. It's all about getting around Foster as quickly as they possibly can now.
Now, we may have had a glitch with the setup too, because, as I said, we've ended up with fast repairs. So the race was set up before the last update. So it may have reverted back to the 4 sets of tyres that we did originally have set on it. So that could answer some of the questions on the tyres.
Well, to be fair, that would be the start the set they started on and 3 more.
Yes, mate. Yes.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense to me based on the numbers that we saw and the facts that we saw on the info sheet here at the start of the night. 4 sets of tyres was what my stat sheet read. Rightio, folks. Take a breath, hold on. 7 laps to go, and Foster didn't muck around. Foster's gone. He knows that he has to go and run the gauntlet because everyone in that mid-pack behind him there, Mckenzie, Phelps, Skurlock. Oh, look at that. Skurlock's right there getting by Phelps. They're on better rubber. They've got a huge chance to gobble Foster up here and now. Foster has nothing to lose. He has to throw caution to the wind. Everybody else jockeying for the win, potentially, if they can find a way around defensive Foster. Oh, boy.
Have a look at this.
Mckenzie.
Underneath.
He makes the lunge. He runs the risk, and it pays off. Mckenzie's the leader. That was brilliant. Saw his opportunity, took it, didn't muck around. Brilliant stuff. Now, Skurlock is second. Phelps is right there in third. Unfortunately, Foster's a sitting duck in all of this, and Williams is fourth. Through they come again. The top 10 are on the lead lap here. Schultz has somehow still got into the top 5. He's been indoors 3 times. They're 3 wide. It was Schultz, Foster, Douglas, and Williams all fighting over the same piece of real estate, and Williams is going thoroughly backwards as well. He's picked the wrong lane. Whoa!
No!
More trouble! Now, still green. We are still green. 184 and 187, 4 to go. Still green at this point in time. Top 10 on the lead lap. 16 classified. Phelps down the low line on Skurlock. 3 laps to go. Here they come again.
That's a good drive back there from Aiden to come back up to where he is.
Absolutely it is. He's 4th. He's still not going to rule out a chance at 3rd here, but it's going to be a long shot with only 3 laps to go. Wow. They are not holding back here, and nor should they. Millimeters in this. Everywhere you go. The spotters are no doubt going ballistic at the moment. Whoa, there goes Phelps. Phelps with a massive moment onto the grass, and that'll be Schultz onto the podium. Douglas to 4th, and Phelps has unfortunately dropped out of that, down to 9th. What a costly moment. 2 laps from home. Take nothing away from Mckenzie. This has been brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Skurlock and Schultz are arguing over 2nd. Have a look at this, though. Further back. Next flag will end the race because we've got the white flag. Forget about it. We're not going to get overtime tonight, but we don't need it. We've had a cracker of a final stint here. Mckenzie, Skurlock, Schultz, Douglas Davies, the top 5. Mckenzie has been at the forefront for 97.5% of the evening. The only time we haven't seen him leading is during pit cycles. So this is well and truly his night to put more than one hand on the championship. Mckenzie gets a rare win. Mr. Consistent does the job in the Music City 400. A rare race win for the championship leader, and there might not be a better time to do it. There might not be a more important race result than that. Brilliant stuff. 2nd went to Skurlock. Schultz got home for 3rd, despite nearly throwing it away twice. Davies, Douglas, Patton, Williams, Phelps with that costly error ended up in 8th. Foster and Kosh made up the top 10. We'll look at the full results in just a moment, but in the meantime, let the champ do his work. And that right there is the celebration of a champion-elect, Mark Johansson. We said tonight at the start of the broadcast that this was his championship to lose. He had one hand on the title, and that will just about be enough to seal it.
Oh, most definitely, mate. That's his. He can't lose it now. So, well done to him. He's deserved it. He's drove brilliantly all season, and definitely deserves it. You know, we seen him have that emotional win at the Gateway, and all I can say is extremely well done.
Absolutely right. And that goes from all of us as well. We will hear from him very shortly, no doubt. We've got Aiden Schultz standing by, Edward Foster as well. Darren Mckenzie's here too. Let's have a look at the race results for you. And Michael Skurlock will hopefully join us in just a few moments as well. But have a look at that. 1 second in the end, but it was enough to get the job done. Look at the presence of Toyota. 4 in the top 10, 3 Fords, 3 Chevys. Schultz was 3rd. Good to see him on the podium. Dylan Dave, and I tell you what, it's a lucky podium given the state of play in the last 30 laps there. By G, he was in the wars. Dylan Davies, Dave Douglas, Nigel Patton, Stephen Williams, Ruben Phelps. That was unlucky for Phelps. He was the hot shot all night as far as the Schultz and Phelps team was concerned. Neither one of them had a bad night, but Phelps was best positioned with about 10 to go, and it ended up being that Schultz got on the podium and Phelps was 8th. Green flag mistakes are costly. Foster in 9th, and of course Kosh in 10th. And again, Foster's a case of what might have been as well. Jackson was 11th, and Curvis 12th, and Barber 13th. Now, of course, Jackson was the first to lap down. Then you go down to McClintock in 14th, Shaw 15th, Campbell was classified in 16th, everybody else not classified in the slightest. because they missed out on. Well, actually, no, my apologies. Paul Drady just scraped through for classification there. 94 was the cutoff. Mark Johansson and Matt Patton and Mark Smith were the last of the runners there. And they were the 3 retirements of the night. Holy smokes, what a night at the office that turned out to be. I wasn't expecting the voice box to get that much of a workout tonight, Mark Johansson, but the Super Speedway of Nashville delivered again.
Most definitely did, mate. Most definitely. Great racing by the guys. Very slippery conditions. So very well done to everyone.
Now, a bit of an anticlimax for you, ladies and gentlemen, because if you were waiting for grand final night, well, it's going to be a dead rubber because Darren Mckenzie, welcome into you. Congratulations, mate. We believe from everything that Mark Johansson's just said here that you have now officially done enough to wrap up Weekend Warriors Cup car racing and claim and crown yourself the champion in 2021, mate. And what a way to do it.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely the way to do it with a win. Yeah, it takes a lot of pressure off the last couple of rounds, especially Daytona. It's always hit and miss whether you make it to the end or not.
It was almost a case of that tonight, wasn't it? It was almost a case of hit and miss as to whether you got to the end here. This really, once we got that first caution, all bets were off.
No, I felt like I had control of the race the whole time through. That last caution, I knew Edward stayed. I seen Edward stayed out, and he was on 25 lap old tyres. So I was just hoping the rest of the field followed me through, which they did, and yeah, it all worked to plan.
Here's the other thing too. I mean, wins have been few and far between for you this season, but the hallmark of your performance has been your consistency. And on that subject, can we just focus on the consistency of you at the front of the field tonight? You were there at the start. You were there at the end. You were there for 97% of every lap in between. It was only in that first round of pit stops when you come in at the end of lap 63-4, and everybody else, maybe 5 guys that stayed out on the 65, 66, that were ahead of you for the ever slightest amount of time. But that track, that setup, everything looked like it clicked perfectly tonight for you.
Yeah, definitely. The looser track combo, like the concrete, suits me well. I think it keeps the tyre wear even between everyone. So as long as I can get out in front and not hit the wall on the outside on the Exeter turns, I normally do pretty well.
I want to talk tyre strategy with you in just a moment, but an initial question on that before I throw the conversation around the room and we have a chat to Messrs. Skurlock, Schultz, and also Foster as well, who's been kind enough to join us. It looked to us that the horse bolted very early on that second last restart. Let's not worry about the last restart because that was a completely different kettle of fish. On that second last restart, you cleared out, checked out, said, "Catch me if you can, boys." They'd started to claw the gap back. They'd started to reel in the deficit, mate. Were you a little bit concerned that they might gobble you up if that stayed green before you got the stroke of luck that was the last caution there?
I wasn't too concerned. I was able to hold at least 3 to 4 tenths lead most of the night, so there was never really any threat coming from anyone. So maybe unsure how whether they would have taken the chance to go then or not. But yeah, I just felt real in control of the race all night.
And it looked like it as well from our perspective, mate. So it wasn't an illusion in the slightest. Well done. Come back to you shortly. Let's go to Michael Skurlock in all of that. Foster and Schultz come together. Schultz and Douglas come together. All hell breaks loose and Ruben Phelps throws himself into the grass. And here you go, just fly under the radar most of the night and walk away with second. Describe the night at the office, please.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I was just cruising. I was just, I wasn't 100% comfortable all night, to be honest with you. I was sort of, because of this daylight savings, man, I keep forgetting, so I didn't get practice. So I came in at the last minute, and last time I drove here, I did well, but it feels different again every time. So I was just, by the end of that race, I felt good. But, yeah, I couldn't keep up with Darren, even when I was right behind him. And Phelps was doing good too until he put it in the. I don't know what he did. I think he spun out or something like that.
Just threw it into
In
the
the
grass
grass,
on
yeah.
the main straight there. Yep.
But other than that, yeah, it was sort of just pick up the pieces, man. Whatever scraps were around, I was having them.
It looked like you were having a great degree of fun, though. You just mentioned an important point, the daylight saving debacle. Whereabouts in the country are you, my friend?
I'm WA, mate. So
Oh, okay.
just out of
Well,
bed, mate. For the
yeah,
start of this thing,
I was going to say, yeah. You get an afternoon delight of motor racing, and then get to go and have dinner and get on the beers. The rest of us, the night's pretty well done. Yeah. Less said about that, the better, because Aidan Schultz knows that I'm ready to fire up about the old daylight saving debacle. But in
Where's
saying
the
all of that,
curtains out, mate?
apparently the cows won't milk either, but Tinder or Bumble would suggest otherwise. But that's another story for another day. Let's go back to the racing, though, before I go into treacherous territory and talk about the strategy game plan there, because this is something I want to come full circle with and go around the room with. Tires were an interesting talking point tonight. We know you guys had the set that you started on and 3 more. Where were you with regards to what you had up your sleeve going into that final stint just after the last caution was called?
The last caution, I had that last set of tires. So, but I was banking on the thing after that first caution. I was banking on it going all the way, so I was saving fuel, going really slow. And then another caution came out, so that went out the window. But there was, yeah, it was a weird thing because apparently it was like just a little bit more than 1 run's worth of fuel, so we had to save like 6 laps or something like that. But
Something in that ballpark. It was quite extraordinary where the timing of the caution couldn't have been any worse from a strategy standpoint, because we're sitting here in the commentary box crunching the numbers and we're like, 63 laps to a stint, you get home on 2 stops. That's all good and well. It's just tyre wear that's going to be the problem. And then the safety car comes and throws the spanner in the works. And in the end, it wouldn't have mattered if you pitted or you didn't pit, because at the end of the day, you would have been able to save enough fuel after the second stop with the amount of cautions that we had to get home. It's just that tyre wear would have been your Achilles heel. That being said,
exactly right.
when you look at tyre wear and that sort of stuff, talk us through your strategy, mate, because, well, now that the race is done, we can let the secrets out, because when you got 3 sets up your sleeve, you don't necessarily have to burn a full set at once because of the way that stock car racing works. So you can take 2 lefts, 2 rights, fronts, rears, whatever the combination is, but you've got those 12 tyres up your sleeve to use at your disposal. How did you go about it tonight?
Oh, mate, I haven't dared do anything like that for years. You could do that if you wanted to, but the way the tires wear off on this, it's the difference between getting 2, even if you do 4 laps, right, and then you take just rights, you're getting passed by everyone who's got 4 tires. It's really weird how quickly the tires will fall off. In real life, I'm not sure how much of a difference. I'm sure they do that a lot. And back in the day, we used to do a bit of 2 tire here and there, but it's pretty rare these days. I mean, I don't know what the other guys are doing, but I doubt it. Yeah, they're doing 2.
Well, the only reason I ask is because we're looking at those 3 stops, or those 2 stops, definitely at the start of the race, once you've run through the full fuel tank, and then when the first caution was called, and we're sitting in here in the commentary box and saying, surely they're taking tyres. Was there one point in the race where you come into pit lane but didn't take rubber?
No. I had just the right amount of tyres. So I had none left at the end, but every time I came in, I had enough to get a set of tyres. So I was good.
So, by the sounds of it, Mike Johansson, yes, you might have had 1 extra set of tyres than what you otherwise might have liked to have.
I think so.
It's that now saves me talking strategy and tyres with everybody, because, well, the cat's been let out of the bag. Mick, stay there. We'll come back to you, mate. Excuse me. Frog in the throat from the last half an hour here. The decibel range has got to work out, no doubt. We'll come back and we'll let you thank some sponsors and that sort of stuff in just a moment. I'm going to go to Schultzy last because he's got his mic muted at the moment, but I'm going to go to Ed Foster before that, because, mate, by gee, it was a case of what might have been. You were top 3 all night. You had tremendous pace, and then it was one moment with the man that I just mentioned, Aidan Schultz, and then all of a sudden it seemed to be that you were on the back foot from that point forward. It was a nice fight back through the field, but in the end, you've only got ninth to show for it. That must hurt considering the pace you had.
Oh, no, not really. I mean, it was one of those races which had a bit of everything, didn't it? We've had really flat out green flag running, green flag pit stops, cautions to figure out, fuel saving, different tyre strategies. Had a bit of everything. Certainly off the start, after I was able to clear Aiden, I was sort of looking at working away on the back of Darren, but I didn't really have this place figured out. It was sort of like Skirley was saying, it was different to last time I came here, and I was still trying to figure out what the best way was to sort of balance out the tyre wear and everything else, and try and keep everything together. And I kind of expected that I'd be able to sort of make some inroads on Darren. And then, after about 20, 30, 40 laps, I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere here. This is, he's not just fast, he's consistently fast. So after about lap 50, I started to make a bit of inroads, but I was really struggling once we got to sort of that 0.3, 0.4 of a second. I just couldn't get any closer than that. And that was kind of the case I think that Darren might have been suffering with a little bit as well, because you could see when he was coming up to some of the lapped cars, it looked as though he lost a little bit of pace until he cleared him. So I think there might have been a little bit of that. And then, of course, when we had the caution come out and everybody was fuel saving, I was clutching in the corners, and I just managed to get my fuel calc on the right side of where it needed to be, and the caution's coming out again. So
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've made the mistake which led to Ruben and Aiden get the run on us. I've gone back and had a look at the contact with Aiden. We didn't even touch. It was about 1.5 foot with a net code in it.
Yeah.
And that sent us to the back. So I thought, all right, I've got a last set of tyres there. It'll probably go green to the end. I'll throw those on because I'll need those to get back through. And got sort of the way through. And then the last caution came out and completely killed me because I had no tyres left. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, just quickly on that, we noticed that my observation of the incident, netcode or whatever, was that you went right, Aiden went left. So did you sustain any sort of damage from clipping the wall there?
I don't think so. I'd already rubbed the wall once, and I had a bit of a crinkled guard from it, and doing the right thing, not taking the fast repairs or anything like that. So I was kind of living with it. And but I don't think, by the time I got down pit lane, I didn't have any more time worth of damage repair than I'd had beforehand. So I don't think it did any damage at all.
All right, copy that, mate. Stay there. Schultzy, welcome into you. I mean, fair income. You had 9 lives tonight. Well, 3 lives really. Let's be perfectly honest. It was firstly the incident with Ed, which is he's already detailed as netcode. Then it was the moment with Mr. Douglas, and then obviously the misfortune of your teammate was your good fortune because you've got yourself on the podium. Well done.
Yeah, tell you what, mate, thanks, but I had more ups and downs than a kid on a pogo stick tonight. It was one of those races. But felt comfortable early. I let Ed go in that first stint. I got on the radio and said, "You can go, mate," because I was a bit the same as him. I didn't really have my head around it. I felt okay, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to fight Ed. I'll let him go. This is a long race, and I'll just sit in behind him because I had the same thought that what Ed did. I thought he was going to slowly pull back on Darren, so I was going to follow him through there, and that didn't quite happen, and it allowed Dave to catch up onto me as well. But I was comfortable in that top 4, sort of doing my thing until that caution came out, and then that caution came out when we went into fuel save mode, probably about the same time that Ed just mentioned. I'd got myself in the good, about 2.5 seconds in front in second, so I wasn't looking for those late cautions. But I tell you what, it spiced it up a bit.
Well, that's exactly right. Did you notice that from the cockpit standpoint? That I mean, cautions breed cautions. There was a little bit more elbows out, a little bit more bump and rub, and as we saw, obviously a couple of incidents along the way. Did you notice that once we got through that 115, 116 laps, whatever it was, of pretty much processional running to a point. If you were to use only a couple of words to describe it, that's the words I'd use. That everything just, all the momentum shifted, everything changed with that first caution because it was a gamble game. Do you run the risk of trying to fuel save and run out 2 laps from home, or do you run concede defeat and say, look, we're going to have to splash and dash? It was just a total momentum shift. It upended the entire night, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. When you talk about that fuel save run, I got the run on Ed, and I went with Darren for the first couple of laps because I was just going to watch it and see what the guys were doing. And when I saw Ed and Davo and Skirley and the likes of those guys dropping back, I knew that then it was a fuel save race. So I went into fuel save mode myself, hence why Darren got in the gap probably to about that 1 second, 1.2. And I thought, well, he's going pretty hard. I'm on borderline here. So if we go green to the end, it'll be interesting. But it didn't play out that way. But in the end, with those final cautions and the way the guys raced, we race against each other a couple of nights a week. So we sort of know how each other race, and it was all pretty fair racing. That incident with Dave, he sprint carted off 2 into the wall, and I was sort of doing that behind him as well, and he just came off. So it was just one of those incidents, and we all took our repairs and sat there. I had to go through pit lane twice in that last caution to get my repairs done, and then, yeah, I don't know how. I think I restarted in 10th and got 3rd. I got no idea how I did that, but I know Ruben had an unfortunate end to that one, so he probably deserves to be on the podium more than I do, but, I could probably do it next week, so.
Well, I was going to say, let's get your thoughts on Michigan, but before we get to that, the tail end of the race there, that was just off the scale. It was loose, wasn't it? Because not only were the cars all over the place, you guys were on the ragged edge, but Ruben, who had probably one of his better runs all season tonight, he was there or thereabouts all the way through, looking good for a podium along with your good self. Only one of you was able to do it. That must have been so disappointing for him to go 97% of the way through the night with nothing more than a slide here and there, and then for it to come unstuck the way that it did.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed with that one. I'm more disappointed than he is probably. I had the better car pace over the night, but he was whinging about or complaining about tyre wear. We were always going back and forward on what our tyre wear was through the pit stops, and but then it just clicked for him, and he felt comfortable. So unfortunate there for him, out of 4 in behind Skirley, to get loose there and onto the grass, but at least one of us got up onto the podium. But it's funny with me and Ruben, we're always like within half a tenth of each other everywhere we go. It's funny, we always end up there. So that's really good though from teammates as well, because we can push each other and work hard to get better. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but I tell you what, it was an interesting end to the race.
And just quickly, and any of you other guys, feel free to chime in here as well, because at the end of the day, you guys were in the cockpit, we were in the commentary box. Schultz, we talk often about the different surfaces. Obviously, bitumen being predominantly popular, cement that caught a couple of people out with particularly the slipping and sliding all over the place. There were a couple of moments. I think Dave had a big moment, a big tank slapper early on where it just washed all the speed off. And in a field that was so tightly matched after qualifying, when you bog it down and you have to spend that next 10, 15 seconds trying to get back to the speed you were, it's a killer around here.
Yeah, you're right. Usually we're worried about that front right, and I thought that the track, as the sun went down, it might have rubbed it in a little bit, but it actually didn't. So it was really about that throttle control, trying to keep the right-hand rear on it as well, to get it off the corner, I found. So yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't only the front right, it was the right rear that you had to keep on it as well. And you could see that with guys, especially coming out of 2, I found that was the hardest. Out of 4 was hard early in the race, because not only was it a little bit loose, you couldn't see because of the sun. But yeah, it was an interesting race. And like you asked me last week in the booth, how do I feel coming into tonight? And I said, I don't know, I haven't done laps around here. So I was still in the learning phase going through that race, and I reckon I'm still learning now.
Yeah, I was going to say you weren't looking forward to terribly much to this night, but it ended up paying off for you. There's no doubt about that. What about you? What about you, Darren Mckenzie? I mean, when it comes to different surfaces, dirt, bitumen, cement. Yeah, I mean, obviously bitumen's the predominant one. We know that. We love that. But do you have a preference?
Going off tonight, definitely the cement.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, once that sun went down, I could see the corner exits were rubbering up slightly. So it was just a patience. Like you had to run that low line, and then aim for the rubber patches on the exit, and you could gradually get on the accelerator. But apart from that, she was a lot of throttle control on exits.
We've lost Michael Skurlock here, so we wish him all the best, and we'll catch up with him next week, no doubt. But just quickly to you, Ed Foster, in all of that, the question that I've got for you, similar to what I was just asking the other two boys, with regards to surfaces, but I'll take a different angle. How do you have to adapt your driving style between bitumen and cement? Because we saw these cars squirrely tonight to a point that we haven't seen them on broadcast for a long while.
The feeling of being on the limit of the tyre is slightly different when you're on cement. The amount of feedback it gives you is slightly different. In terms of adjusting the driving style, it's a lot more, I think, setup dependent than it is surface dependent. I think the squirreling and the looseness that you saw tonight wasn't due to the surface. It was due to the setup. So certainly the setup that you run has a lot bigger bearing on the way the car behaves than cement. It's just a slightly different feeling through the.
All right, very nicely done. Darren Mckenzie, we were talking at the start of the broadcast about the importance of tonight for those guys that were still in positional battles as far as the championship was concerned, and then the ring-ins or the guys that were here to be able to be in a position where they could throw caution to the wind and just have a real crack. You now get to spend the next 2 weeks just having a good old crack, because you don't have to be conscious of the championship. How much more relaxing is the next 2 weeks going to be for you?
I think the rest of the field should be worried, because I can dedicate the next 2 weeks
That's
to
true.
winning Daytona and the Triple Crown. So I'm coming.
The message has been sent. I love it. Hey, quickly, mate, before I get your thank yous and we have a look at the points, what are your thoughts on Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan's always a good track. So yeah, hopefully I can keep it Mr. Consistent again.
We'll try and wrap this up by 10 o'clock for those Eastern Daylight Time, for those of you tuning in, because that way you can head off and continue the motorsport marathon, tune into Formula One qualifying from Istanbul Park in Turkey. Mark Johansson, I'm coming to you in just a moment, JP as well. But in the meantime, to Ed Foster here, your thoughts on Michigan, mate? Of course, we all love Daytona. We all know what to expect there. Michigan, different kettle of fish, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I probably won't be there next week. Unfortunately, I've got another engagement on. But yeah, Michigan, it's a bit of a bigger intermediate track, isn't it? So the draft is still important. You can still have people push you. It still matters if you've got somebody drafting or you're drafting them. But yeah, there's a little bit more involved in it, because you have to get out of the throttle, especially as the tyres get old and those kind of things. So it's an interesting challenge. It's not my favourite track out of all of it, but it's certainly a quite a unique challenge, being a fast 2-miler the way it is.
And Aidan Schultz, have you been more familiar with Michigan over the years than you have Nashville?
Yeah, most definitely. Done a lot of laps. Done a lot of laps around Michigan across all the different leagues. So I wouldn't say I'm comfortable with the field that we have here at the Weekend Warriors. You're never comfortable. All great drivers. So, but yeah, a lot more comfortable than what I was going in tonight. Put it that way.
All right, good stuff there. Let's have a look at the championship points as they stand at this point in time. After around 33 or 35 in the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series, with thanks to Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine, Darren Mckenzie. That's what you call unassailable. 178 points ahead of Paul Jackson, Dylan Davies. That's still up for grabs, second, third there, depending upon how the next 2 weeks play out, considering that we've also got another double points round when we get to Daytona Beach, Florida, with the final leg of the Triple Crown. Scott McClintock is fourth, Josh Carroll Walden fifth, and then we go back to Stephen Williams, Ruben Phelps, Adam Ariel, Barry Neal, and Mark Johansson. And Mark, you might be as surprised as anybody, the fact that you didn't finish tonight and still hold on to the top 10 there.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I thought I'd be out of the top 10, but hey, I'm happy with that. I'll take a top 10 this season with the jumping in here and doing some broadcasting and things.
Absolutely. Hey, Schultze's moved up into 14th there as well. He was 15th. He's moved up into 14th. Tristan Kosh and Jamie Nankervis and Dave Duran just ahead of him. Mark Smith, Nigel Patton, Greg Spencer, Paul Drady, Hamish Gallagher, and Dave Douglas behind him. We'll let that keep scrolling, boys. We'll go around the room. It's a case of what might have been for you, Ed Foster, but I'm sure there's someone you want to thank while you're here.
More congratulate than anyone else. Just congratulations to Darren for the championship. It's a year-long championship. It's a massive commitment to continue to show up every week and do it and be as consistent as he has. Absolutely deserves the championship. So massive congratulations to him. And just as always, thanks to the Weekend Warriors admins for putting it on, and you guys are doing the broadcast. And roll on the rest of the year, and then into 2022 with you guys should be a good.
And looking forward to it as well. Mark, go for it, mate. Before we get from
just on that, Ed, there's a rumor floating around that we will see a lot more of you next year. So can you put the rumors to bed, or are you still playing your cards close to your chest?
Oh, I think it's going to be the same. If I'm free on a Saturday night, I'll definitely make an effort to come out and have a run. It really just depends on that. Saturday night's a fairly social night, but Friday night's normally my big one. So if I'm around on a Saturday night, I'll definitely jump in for it.
All right, thanks, mate, and
that's good to know.
We hope to see you back.
Thanks a lot.
100%. And well done tonight as well. Hey, just quickly before I hear from the top two here, updating the cricket, or two of the top three, I should say, updating the cricket. We said that Australia were chasing 118 for victory. They still need 47 off 40. Make that 43 off 39. They've just hit a boundary, but it is 5 for 76 at the moment. They are in all sorts of strife, the Aussie girls, remembering that if they win this match, the series is done and dusted. They cannot be beaten. But if India win, all hangs in the balance for tomorrow night. The ultimate decider at 7 points all on the points system that they use tonight. Tomorrow night would be a live rubber. Aidan Schultz, third tonight. Well done. The floor is yours.
First of all, Darren, mate, absolute stellar job all season. Good to see you back with the W tonight. You were a class above, absolutely amazing. But congratulations on the championship, mate. Well deserved, and look forward to seeing you out next time. Of course, number one, Prue, my partner. She's always there supporting me, so thanks to her. Ruben and the guys at Aussie Esports. We've got a big announcement coming up in the next couple of days with the expansion of the team for 2022. So that's going to be good as well. Mark and the guys at Weekend Warriors for putting on the league. Obviously, I wasn't able to run the whole year being in the booth at the start of it, which put pay to being able to fight for the championship. But we'll be back strong next year and be able to fight for the championship for that one. Obviously, Simshed Broadcasting for the broadcast as well, to be able to watch that back, and you for the commentary all year, mate, or when you've been able to do that. So yes. Thanks so much.
No, been a pleasure, mate, as per usual, and sharing the booth with you on a couple of occasions as well. Always enjoyable. And, of course, good luck with the next two rounds. Darren Mckenzie, a season that will be remembered for so many reasons and some emotion attached to that as well. But the championship is yours. The floor is yours as well.
Yeah, thanks. I suppose I'd like to thank all the drivers that have shown up and made it a challenging race each and every week. The guys at Southern Stars Esports Racing Team, I've just come on board with them. So yeah, it's been a great couple of weeks. And sponsors for the team are SkyPoint, Tiona Holiday Park, and Mish's XL Garage. I also like to thank Weekend Warriors and Mark behind the scenes there, and Simshed Broadcasting for broadcasting every race. Thank you.
Well done, mate. Congratulations. A great championship, a great champion, and no doubt we'll celebrate that properly when we finish the final round in a couple of weeks' time at Daytona Beach in Florida. Mark Johansson, the floor is yours as well. I know you've got some final comments and some people you want to thank from the Weekend Warriors perspective as well, mate.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Look, congratulations, Darren. Been a fantastic season for you. I'll reveal now that the next season we'll have Jake Mckenzie Memorial Shield race. That's will be our third big race of the year for us. We've picked up a couple of sponsors, and we'll go in more in the depth in that at Daytona post race. My big thanks is to each and every driver that's turned up this season. Had a run with us. We haven't always got things right, but I think we've done a pretty good job. Things will get bigger and better next year. JP and Simshed Broadcasting. I know I'm jumping in a bit early, but thank you so very much for this season, mate. You've done a fantastic job, and we look forward to working again with you next year. And to you, Zach, thanks very much, mate, for making yourself available when you can. And to my admin team, that the last couple of weeks have been absolutely flat out trying to finalise season 2022. And I can tell everyone that it has been finalised. As you alluded to before, Zach, you've seen the calendar. We go 35 weeks again. 35 weeks again. And I'm just going to hold the sponsors and everything close to my chest until Daytona. And I will reveal that we do have a prize fund next year. So that's a big step up for us too.
No, very well done, guys. Superb job throughout the course of the season. JP, some final thoughts from you for the night. And Mark, if there's a driver of the night that isn't Darren Mckenzie, that's your job to tell us as well. JP, great night at the office. First half was a little bit tame, but by gee, the second half made up for it.
Yeah, look, we had some awesome racing tonight. Yeah, like you said, first half of the racing was a little bit tame, but coming in after that second caution period, it was absolutely on, and some brilliant racing by everybody involved.
And Mark Johansson, am I right in assuming that Darren Mckenzie is the driver of the night, or have you got another nomination in mind?
Oh, look, Darren's definitely up there. But it's got to be a toss up between him and Aiden. Like for Aiden to get mixed up in what he did and then come back and finish where he did, that's a fantastic drive, you know. But my hat goes off to Darren. Flawless all night, really, and to wrap up the championship 2 rounds out from the end. That's an unbelievable feat.
And also, I mean, tip of the hat to Michael Skurlock as well, because that's the first race that I've commentated where he's ended up on the podium. So well done to him. In fact, Schultze as well. I must admit, the curse has been on Schultze all season. We've been after him to get the W. It just hasn't happened. Darren, well done, mate. JP, thank you. Mark Johansson, well done. Great night out on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting, Weekend Warriors, Cup Car Racing, with thanks to Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine, all the great sponsors that help put it together, not just for Weekend Warriors, but also for Simshed Broadcasting as well. Track Cams for Gourmet, the entire team, Goodyear Auto Care Runner, whoever else we need to thank, we thank them right now. And as far as the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting are concerned, that's what's ahead for you. Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, I'm going to go there firstly because that's next Saturday night from 7:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and that will be 4:20 Western, of course, and 9:20 in New Zealand for our coverage of the penultimate round from the Michigan Speedway in the Irish Hills. Virtually, of course, looking forward to that immensely. That'll be a good race there, about 300 miles, so somewhere in the vicinity of 150 laps around Michigan next week, if Mark's numbers were correct there. And then, of course, the week after will be Daytona for the 500-kilometre race, and we cannot wait for that. The RSRA Goodyear Auto Care Runner Super Series heads to the Hungaroring on Wednesday night. My fingers are crossed that the recently ill Chris Kisby is back on deck with us on Tuesday night when we bring you a reverse grid racing for the first time this season. It'll be races 3 and 4 of the championship. It's an 11-round season, and we are looking forward to getting our first reverse grid race of the season out of the road. It is at the Hungaroring. That's a little bit cruel, actually, I would have thought, from Sean McNamara and JP, quite frankly, because the Hungaroring's not very well known for overtaking. So it's going to test the tolerance and patience of quite a few of the drivers on Tuesday night. We'll bring it to you. Round 3 of the championship. from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Then, of course, Matt Davis, Dean Reddit, team up on Wednesday night to bring you all the action of the RSRA Super 2 E-Series from the same venue. But they had their sprint race, their super sprint last week, so they're just back to the flat out one race on Wednesday night from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Darren Mckenzie was brilliant tonight, led pretty much all the way, didn't look challenged, came close. Restarts were key. He nailed every single one of them. He cemented his title the only way he should, with a W. Nice to have your company on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you've been tuning in around Australia or indeed the world across YouTube and Facebook. Hope you've enjoyed round 33 of the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series. We do it all again next week, round 34. But before that, some supercar action from the Hungaro Ring on Tuesday and Wednesday, and looking forward to that as well. On behalf of the entire team from here at SimShed Broadcasting headquarters and right around Australia, I'm Zach Caban. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Formula One qualifying not too far away. The Women's T20 wrapping up as well. Look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday. Until then, bye for now.